Our story begins late at night, where an exhausted web novel author is slumped over his desk, half asleep, mumbling that he still needs to send out today's chapter update before he can finally rest. Barely conscious, he reaches out into the dark for his computer mouse. But the thing under his hand is warm and far too soft, and a startled squeal suddenly breaks the quiet. The sound jolts him, and he stares down completely puzzled, wondering why on earth his mouse has become so incredibly soft. When his eyes finally focus, he is not looking at a computer at all. Somehow he has woken up inside the body of a strikingly handsome young man dressed in flowing ancient robes, and all he can do is ask what in the world is going on. He blinks again and again, his mind completely blank, unable to make any sense of the scene in front of him. Sitting right before him is an adorable girl with tiny horns, her cheeks burning red. He decides this must be a dream, and a surprisingly high-quality one at that. Grinning to himself, he figures that nothing in a dream really counts, so he cheekily reaches out to feel a little more. The poor girl flinches away and desperately begs her master to stop. She squeezes her eyes shut and cries out in pure panic. Inside, she is terrified. She thinks that if she runs away now, she will only anger her master and probably be beaten to death. So through her tears, she weakly pleads with him to stop. Then it hits him. This feels far too real to be a dream, and he begins to wonder how any dream could ever be this vivid. His own sharp and cold expression stares back at him, and the truth slowly begins to sink in. He really has crossed over into another world. He looks down at the trembling girl on the floor and recognizes her at once, calling out her name, Kang Yuling. Suddenly, a flood of borrowed memories rushes into his head, and he clutches it in pain. The girl panics and hurries to him, begging her master not to frighten her like this. Kang Yuling spirals into worry. If her master were to die right here in this room, the whole sect would surely suspect that she had something to do with it. She kneels there shaking, certain that the senior masters and her fellow disciples would torture her without mercy. But instead of lashing out, he slowly reaches a hand toward her and gently says her name. He wipes the tears from her face and softly tells her not to cry, cupping her cheek. He reassures her that he is perfectly fine. She bursts into relieved sobbing, stunned that her usually cruel and bad-tempered master is suddenly being so gentle. She is convinced he must have hit his head and damaged his brain. True to that fierce reputation, his expression hardens and he snaps, demanding to know why she is still crying and whether she wants him to give her a real reason to. The poor girl jumps in fright, instantly on edge all over again. She quickly forces a smile and tells him that it is wonderful he is back to normal, and that he should just stay exactly like this. He can only sweat nervously in response. He slaps a hand over his face, baffled. He clearly wrote this character to be sweet and gentle, so why is her personality so completely different from what he imagined? And that is when the full reality lands. He has crossed over into the world of a cultivation novel called Long Ocean, a story that he himself wrote from beginning to end. He has become Shen Shi, a golden core stage cultivator, and the second master of the Shangding Immortal sect, a ruthless villain who will do absolutely anything to grow stronger. In the original plot, this Shen Shi covets the hero's treasures and lucky chances. From the very start, he deceives him, threatens him, and even tries to kill him outright. Later, the moment the hero forms his own golden core, the very first thing he does is crush Shen Shi, leaving the villain broken and wishing for death. The hero, blessed with absurd luck, breezes through all of it like a tired old cliché. Remembering his character's miserable fate, his face twists with pure dread. Worst of all, he realizes that Shen Shi is the very first cannon fodder villain that the hero sacrifices on his rise to glory. He groans at himself, wondering why he always gives his villains the same name as his own. If only he had known, he would have written himself in as the hero's close friend or a powerful mentor with a cheat ability instead. Then a hopeful thought strikes him, a cheat, a golden finger. By every rule of these transmigration stories, a traveler like him should arrive equipped with a handy system or some kind of cheat ability. Full of expectation, he throws out his hand and calls for his super villain system to appear. Nothing happens at all, only silence answers him, and he stands there utterly confused. He mutters that maybe that just was not the setup for this world, and starts thinking of other options. He tries calling out for a gold spending system, a lottery system, a hatred system, even a love system. Still nothing. He starts shouting, asking if the heavens are punishing him simply because he never wrote system-style novels himself. Defeated, he collapses onto a couch and begins to fear that he might really just die in this world after all. Just then, the little disciple snuggles up against him and softly calls out to her master. He recalls that this Kang Yuling is his youngest disciple, and that in the original story she only ever came to adore the hero, never him. Then a crucial detail clicks into place. According to the timeline, the hero has not even joined the Shangcheng Immortal sect yet, has not become his disciple, and has not taken his revenge. In other words, he has arrived long before any of his doom is supposed to happen, and his stern face slowly shifts as the gears in his head begin to turn. He hatches a plan. The hero is overflowing with luck but is also famously short-sighted. If he can win the hero over completely and become his most loyal flatterer, he could ride those coattails all the way to the top. And judging by how cute Kang Yuling is, this world must be full of beauties as well. A scheming grin spreads across his face as he decides that, looked at this way, his new life actually seems quite promising. He resolves to completely rebrand himself and shed his old image as a violent and unpredictable tyrant. He leans in toward the girl, who immediately panics and cries that she is still too young for this, while he is left thinking that he has not even done anything yet. Her terror makes him pause. He realizes that because his character is written to constantly abuse people, she always assumes the worst, and a wicked little part of him wonders if maybe he could get away with something. He even jokes to himself that it would not really be for him. After all, the readers love this kind of scene, and the likes, the favorites, and the comments would absolutely explode. But then his expression turns dark and serious, and he firmly decides that he refuses to go through with it. Instead, he simply pats her head and gruffly tells her to stop crying and quiet down. Her whole face lights up with a bright and happy smile as she cheerfully answers, "Yes, master." He sighs to himself. How could he ever bully such a silly and innocent child? He decides to slowly repair his reputation, starting by mending his relationships with his other disciples, all of whom abandoned him for the hero in the original story. Right on cue, a voice calls from outside the hall. A disciple named Xuanyu has arrived with something to report. Outside stands a tall, red-haired disciple who frets that her little junior sister has been gone far too long delivering the spirit tea, hoping the clumsy girl has not done anything to upset their master. Back inside the sect hall, Shen Shi decides to take stock of the very disciples he once created, muttering that he should take a good look at what he is working with, while little Kang Yuling trails along behind him. He recalls his gentle and sentimental second disciple, the red-haired Xuanyu, whom he had written with a kind heart but, unfortunately, only mediocre talent. In the original story, he beat this very disciple to death for shielding the hero, an act that became one of the sparks for the hero's revenge. He swears that this time he would never do something so foolish. More urgently, he remembers a carved piece of jade engraved with precious cultivation inscriptions on both its front and back, a treasure he needs to secure. He decides to put his appraising eye to work and size up exactly what his disciples are made of, while one of them nervously wonders why the master is suddenly staring at her. There on the ground lies the red-haired disciple, bowing low before him. He grumbles that the way she suddenly appeared face down is far too awkward for him to get a proper look at her, and he jokingly blames the original author for the inconvenient framing. Standing before the grand sect gate, he tells the prostrate disciple to rise. She obeys, then reports that the administrative hall has sent over an invitation for him. Using his appraising eye on her, the only assessment he manages to blurt out is loud approval of her striking figure. Kang Yuling is relieved to see her senior sister safe and sound, glad that the older girl is okay. He notes that the invitation supposedly comes from the Xinjiang Tang, confirming his guess that it is the administrative hall of the Shangding Immortal Sect. Curious, he tells her to hand the invitation over so he can take a look at it, but the red-haired disciple suddenly turns pale and stammers that, in truth, no invitation has actually been sent at all. Inside, she panics. A moment ago, she had been so worried about her junior sister that she blurted out a lie, and for a disciple with talent as poor as hers, an angry master could simply kill her on the spot. He quickly understands. She made up the whole invitation just to protect her little junior sister, and he sighs at how foolishly soft-hearted his disciples really are. He waves it off, telling her she can take Yuling and go, and that he will let her off the hook just this once. Beaming with relief, she gratefully thanks her master. He then says something strange for him, telling her she no longer needs to kneel and worship him, and can simply greet him normally from now on. Caught completely off guard, she asks what he could possibly mean by that. To cover himself, he gruffly claims that watching her grovel and listening to her talk just irritates him, so she should simply do as she is told. He reflects on how hard this will be. Shen Shi's original character is so deeply villainous that it will take a great deal of effort to make these disciples ever trust him. Still, he steels himself, deciding to head back and finally take up his real duties as a master by guiding them in their cultivation. The disciples watch him walk away, cheeks flushed and clearly confused by his sudden change in attitude. His handsome profile drifts past, as leaves scattered gently through the air around him. The red-haired disciple gazes after him, softly murmuring the word master under her breath. Kang Yuling teases her senior sister, asking if she is blushing because she thinks the master is handsome, and the older girl flusters and denies it completely. The scene shifts to Arbai Peak, Shen Shi's private domain. Among the 12 great peaks of the sect, its spiritual energy is so abundant that only the main Deng Tian Peak and the secondary Danqing Peak surpass it. At its summit lie two snow-white fields. One is a garden of Edelweiss herbs, and the other is a bed of white jade. The Edelweiss gathers spiritual energy and yields vital cultivation materials, while the white jade bed is a prized place for making cultivation breakthroughs. Both treasures belong solely to Shen Shi, and combined with his power at the very peak of the Golden Core stage, Even the most envious peak masters dare not lay a finger on them. Then he remembers a crucial detail. Hidden in his Edelweiss garden is a single mutated bloom, destined to become the hero's very first cheat treasure, and so far no one has discovered it. Determined, he resolves to claim it for himself first, before anything can go wrong. Then he reassures himself, reasoning that since he wrote this entire plot, surely nothing could have gone wrong already. Yet a flicker of doubt crosses his eyes as he quietly admits that he is genuinely starting to worry. His fears come true. He arrives to find a flock of cranes brazenly raiding his precious garden, and he erupts, shouting that they are stealing right out of his home. Furious, he charges straight at the birds, roaring that these beasts are digging their own graves. He gathers his power and dares them to try and run, vowing to see just how far they can possibly get. Unleashing a powerful technique, he calls the very mountains down upon the thieving cranes. Afterward, he despairs, lamenting that these blind, brainless birds treated his precious cheat treasure like an afternoon snack, and wondering how his pretty disciples could have guarded the place so poorly. Eyes blazing with rage, he bellows for everyone to gather at once in the Edelweiss herb garden. His disciples come rushing in answer to the urgent summons. A short while later, the disciples are sprawled on the ground gasping for breath after a grueling run, barely able to call out to their master. He tells them to rest and that they will talk once their breathing settles down. He turns to the tanned, white-haired disciple and tells her to stand up. Startled, she points to herself, unsure why the master is singling her out. Composing herself, she rises and answers him obediently. He appraises her as Han Xianfeng, an upper-middle talent and the most gifted of her 4 peers, blessed with dual fire and wood spiritual roots. He also notes, with some surprise, that her unusual and striking physique is something he never expected to actually see in person. He recalls that in the original story she was nothing more than a prop used to showcase Shen Shi's cruelty, and that he never taught her a single technique. Even so, she rarely complained, being diligent and dutiful, and she handled all of her chores in a neat and orderly way. He concludes that with a physique this rare, her character and talent truly deserve to be properly cultivated. As the cranes still flap about overhead, he demands to know just who was supposed to be guarding the garden these fools wrecked, and the 3 girls freeze guiltily. An awkward silence settles over all of them. He observes that although their master is famously cruel and ruthless, these disciples clearly share a close bond and always cover for one another. He presses them, asking if no one is going to speak up. Then, a thought strikes him as he suddenly remembers something important. He recalls his eldest disciple, a graceful beauty named Dongyueli, who appears amid a soft shower of cherry blossoms. Shen Shi realizes that his eldest disciple, Dongyueli, was the one meant to guard the medicine garden, but she is currently bedridden, injured from a punishment he himself once dealt her. He silently blames himself, while his other disciples kneel and beg him to calm his anger and forgive their elder sister, with little Kang Yuling insisting the fault was hers, and that she should be the one punished. Overwhelmed by their frantic pleading, he snaps at them to be quiet, his face twisting into a fearsome glare. He coldly demands whether they are now trying to tell him what to do, and a disciple instantly cowers, swearing she would never dare. He orders them to get lost and mind their own duties, warning them not to test his patience again, all while privately admitting he has to keep acting fierce, even though he has no intention of punishing anyone. The disciples scramble away in fear, leaving him to wonder, a little sadly, whether he really is that terrifying. We learn that Erbai Peak is divided into 3 areas. The first is where the newest disciples and the servants live. The second area is reserved for the more accomplished disciples. And the third area is naturally Shen Shi's own grand residence. The second area even holds a spirit gathering array, where the spiritual energy is twice as dense as it is anywhere outside. He wonders why Kang Yuling and the others choose to crowd into the lowly first area, instead of striving to reach the richer second. The answer is simple. They are terrified that living any closer to him might get them killed. He arrives at a door marked with the name plaque of Dongyueli. He thinks about her injury, recalling that he only mentioned it briefly in his novel, and quietly hopes it is not too serious as he reaches for the door. He pushes the door open, only to walk straight in on the startled eldest disciple bathing in a wooden tub. She freezes in shock, barely able to cry out for her master. He too jolts, completely caught off guard by the sight before him. Flustered, she apologizes and says she had no idea he was coming, begging him to please step back out first. His face flushes a deep red as the full awkwardness of the moment sinks in. He muses to himself that there are no regrets in this life. After all, true happiness is when the cat gets its fish, the dog gets its meat, and Shen Shi opens a door to find a beauty in her bath. But his amusement fades the instant he notices the shocking web of scars marking her body. We learn that Dongyueli was his very first disciple and therefore suffered the worst of his abuse. She is also the strongest of the 4, standing at the 9th level of the Qi refining realm, and remarkably, she was the only one who stayed loyal to him after everyone else betrayed him. Softly, he tells her not to worry, promising that such things will never happen to her again. Left alone, she panics, fretting that now that the master has seen her bare, he might turn into a beast and try something improper. After a stretch of silence, she peeks out, wondering if her master has already left. Strangely, she feels a flicker of disappointment, wondering why he simply walked away and whether he has no interest in her at all. Then, without warning, he suddenly reappears in her doorway, making her gasp in surprise. She stammers out for her master all over again, utterly flustered. Inside, she spirals into a panic, convinced that he is moving far too fast. He calmly tells her to open her mouth, and she protests in alarm, reminding him that she is his disciple. She braces herself, fearing that in her current fragile state, another round of his training might genuinely kill her. Instead, he flicks something small and glowing across the room toward her. She blinks in confusion, blushing, as the little object shimmers in front of her. He explains that it is a yuan elixir, a priceless 4th-grade pill, and that he only has about 10 of them to his name. He tells her not to waste it and to absorb its power right away. She presses her hands together and begins drawing in the elixir, her whole body glowing with warm energy in the water. He reflects that, after spending such a fortune on her, Dong Yureli should now be able to smoothly break through into the foundation building realm. Night settles over the peak, with fireflies drifting around his quiet residence. The little lights dance softly through the dark foliage. Meanwhile, Kang Yuling and the red-haired Xuanyu sneak through the forest in the dead of night, whispering that they will be finished if the master catches them, before signaling that the coast is clear. Kang Yuling reassures her senior sister that the master always cultivates at night, so he will never notice that they slipped into the second area. Xuanyu insists on staying careful, explaining that thanks to the help of a certain immortal without cultivation, they managed to afford a fine healing pill, which they absolutely must deliver safely to their elder sister. Reaching the door, Xuanyu knocks and calls for their elder sister to open up, saying they have arrived with the medicine. When no answer comes, they worry that she may have already fallen asleep, or worse, passed out from the punishment the master dealt her. Deciding the situation is far too urgent to wait, Kang Yuling declares that they will simply have to break in. Together, they burst straight through the door, but the scene that greets them inside leaves them utterly stunned. From within the glowing tub, Dong Yureli serenely tells her junior sisters to look, announcing that their elder sister has practically ascended to immortality. Every single one of her wounds has vanished without a trace, and Kang Yuling gapes in pure amazement at the sight. The two younger girls are left reeling, their jaws dropped in disbelief. Just then, Shen Shi appears right behind them, calmly asking what the two of them are doing here in the middle of the night, and they freeze, drenched in nervous sweat. One stammers that they only came to check on their elder sister, while the other awkwardly blurts out a greeting, wishing him a good evening. He notices the healing pill they brought, and realizes they came all this way to deliver medicine to Dong Yureli. Even though these disciples are weak in cultivation, he thinks their hearts are truly good. He tells them that their elder sister is in the middle of a breakthrough and must not be disturbed, so they should head back to bed. He turns and walks off, and the girls obediently answer, "Yes, master." Once he is gone, Kang Yuling turns to her senior sister and wonders aloud whether the master has truly become kinder, asking if he is even the same man they once knew. Her senior sister can only admit that she honestly does not know anymore. Walking home through the drifting fireflies, Shen Shi reflects that, although he first only wanted to change the course of the plot, he now genuinely cares for these disciples, and decides it is finally time for him to become a truly good master. We open at the very top of Erbai Peak, where the white jade hotbed sits bathed in a glowing sunset. Inside, Shen Shi sits cross-legged on a mat, calmly meditating as incense smoke curls beside him. We learn that, by his own design, Shen Shi possesses a dual water and wood spiritual root and is skilled in illusions, trap techniques, and healing arts. His most powerful move is a spirit art called Overlapping Mountains. Among the cultivation world's ranking of techniques, there are spirit arts, profound arts, and immortal arts, with spirit arts sitting at the very bottom. Even mastered to perfection, they never grow truly powerful. He notes that he is now firmly in the golden core stage, just one step away from the nascent soul stage, though he may never climb any higher. In the Qingzhou region, after all, a nascent soul cultivator is already considered formidable, which makes his current level the perfect difficulty for a first boss. Deciding to test his power, he gathers a swirl of blue energy in his palm and murmurs that he will give it a try. He unleashes the technique with a sharp burst of force. A nearby wooden chair is caught and dragged into the spinning vortex of energy. In an instant, the chair is torn completely to pieces. Admiring his own hand, he marvels that the sensation of this power is genuinely amazing. He resolves that, having decided to become a good master, he certainly cannot afford to neglect his own cultivation either. Later, as the sun begins to set, a door slowly creaks open. His expression turns serious as he wonders aloud what exactly is going on. Standing alone on the grassy summit, he questions whether it is because the rules of this world were written by his own hand. He can hardly believe how effortlessly he just broke through toward the nascent soul stage. He realizes the world itself is bending to please him, putting his needs first. Not only will nothing block his rise in realm, but in battle the very laws will tip in his favor, weakening every enemy's strike while strengthening his own. A wicked grin spreads slowly across his face. Thrilled, he exclaims that this is the heavens themselves lending him a hand, and that if he stopped caring about the consequences, he might even reach the legendary god stage. But he reins himself in, deciding it is wiser to follow the plot for now, and keep his realm suppressed at the golden core stage. He gloats that, with a constitution like this, no matter how many cheats the hero gathers or how fast he advances, Shen Shi can always overpower him in both realm and raw strength. This means, he realizes with glee, that he can always remain the hero's master and ride safely along on his coattails. Even now, it never once occurs to him to simply make himself the protagonist. His triumphant laughter echoes wildly out into the night. The next day arrives, sunlight washing gently over the buildings. A faintly glowing hand rests against a doorframe as someone approaches. A sleepy Kang Yuling rubs her eyes and mumbles a good morning to her elder sister. Xuan Yu and the white-haired Han Xianfeng ask their junior sister whether she slept poorly. Still rubbing her eye, Kang Yuling admits that last night she heard the master's terrifying laughter ringing down from the mountaintop and was far too scared to sleep. Han Xianpi groans uneasily, while Xuan Yu tells everyone to wash up quickly, since the master has summoned them all to gather at the white jade hotbed up at the summit. A wooden tub of water and a towel wait nearby for them to freshen up. Xuan Yu dashes off ahead, urging the others to hurry because the master is already waiting. At the summit, the newly healed Dong Yureli sits beside Shen Shi, who yawns that he has been waiting so long he is starting to feel sleepy. Dong Yuli gently informs him that her junior sisters have finally arrived. He glances over at them in silence. As she greets him, we learn that Dong Yurli smoothly broke through into the foundation building realm just the night before. He says the younger ones are up next, and the three girls stagger and breathless, panting out their greetings to the master. He tells them that from now on he wants to see them here every single morning, rising early to cultivate at the summit for 1 full hour, and orders them to begin at once. Kang Yuling and Xuan Yu obediently answer, "Yes, master," but Han Xianpi hangs back, saying she would rather just keep doing manual labor, since staying here would only hold her sisters back. She confesses that she has no cultivation method at all, calling herself a useless good-for-nothing who will likely toil as a laborer until she dies of old age, never able to save her mother. He gently asks how old she is, recalling that the old Shen Shi never taught her anything, fearing her mysterious background would cause trouble. But now, he thinks he has nothing left to fear. Kneeling before him, she answers that she is 14 years old. He muses that 14 is indeed not so young, as she softly calls out to her master. He explains that one is meant to begin golden core cultivation very early, ideally somewhere between the ages of 9 and 12. By the age of 14, he notes, the body's meridians are already taking their final shape, so even starting to cultivate now would be an uphill battle. Still, he reassures her that it is not too late. With her dual fire and wood spiritual root, and since she has never formally entered a sect before, there is still hope, and he gently pats her head. He promises to personally teach her the sect's cultivation methods, telling her that as long as she works hard, nothing in this world is truly impossible. Overwhelmed, she looks up at him with tears welling in her eyes, softly calling him master. Her memories stir. Surrounded once by the mocking shadows of others, she had declared with fierce pride that yes, this man is her master. She remembers how, 4 years ago, atop the glorious immortal hall, despite the ridicule and contempt of everyone around him, he reached out, took her hand, and made her his disciple. Her master, back in the present, she throws herself into his arms and sobs, while he awkwardly pats her and tells her that it is all right and not to cry. Watching in astonishment, Xuan Yu and Kang Yuling wonder aloud whether this could really be their master, and whether he was always such a gentle person. Dong Yeli smiles knowingly, saying the master was a truly gentle man once before, and that he has finally come back to them at last. We begin with little Kang Yuling, flop down and groaning that she is completely exhausted. She complains that every single morning she has to rise early, climb all the way to the mountaintop to train, and then trek back down again, whining that her feet are killing her. Nearby, the red-haired Xuan Yu rinses herself off with a bucket of water. Xuan Yu reminds their little junior sister that the master is doing all of this for their own good, and tells her not to complain. The white-haired Han Xianfeng fondly called Cienair, picks up a basket and announces that she is heading down the mountain to wash the vegetables. Kang Yuling playfully grabs her, teasing her third senior sister to confess whether the master has been too strict with her lately, while Xuanyu scolds the little one to stop making trouble. Han Xianfeng reflects gratefully that the master not only spends his time and energy teaching her to cultivate, but even lets her train on his white jade hotbed because of her fire and wood dual root. Treated so kindly, she swears to work hard and never let him down. She asks her second senior sister Xuanyu whether she truly believes the master was once the gentle person their eldest sister described. Xuanyu admits she does not know, recalling that all of them were originally rejected by every other sect. Shen'er was turned away for her background, and she herself for her inferior spiritual roots. She teases that little Kang Yuling, on the other hand, was rejected for being a dimwit, and the girl huffs right back that she is actually very smart. But Xuanyu adds more softly, the master was the only one who was ever willing to take them all in as his disciples. So surely, Han Xianfeng thinks to herself, he must be a gentle and good teacher deep down. She heads down the slope carrying her basket of vegetables. At the bottom of the path, she spots a group of strangers and pauses in confusion. She challenges them, demanding to know who they are and whether they carry an entry token. A green-haired young man steps forward, smiling that Sister Xianfeng has forgotten him so quickly. She realizes it is senior brother Zhao Huangming, and wonders why he has come, recalling that he visited not long ago to collect Edelweiss. Zhao explains that this time he is not here for Edelweiss. Recently, their peak lost 7 precious medicine cranes, and his master sent them out to search the surrounding hilltops. At the mention of medicine cranes, Han Xianfeng freezes in alarm. Zhao describes how the medicine crane is extraordinarily valuable, its blood and feathers being prized treasures and the greatest assets of their crane-white peak, and he asks if she has happened to see any. Sweating nervously, she lies that she has not seen a single one, while his companions look on with suspicion. We cut to a guilty flashback. The disciples had happily feasted on those very cranes, praising Cienair's cooking, even burning one and eating another, never once realizing what they truly were. Back at the path, she insists the visitors must turn back and fetch a proper token first, warning that her master has a fierce temper, while inwardly she scrambles to stall them and come up with a plan. Zhao grows impatient, asking why she is being so unyielding when they only wish to take a quick look up the mountain, but she firmly refuses to let them pass without a token. His friendliness vanishes. He sneers that just because he calls her junior sister, she should not imagine she is anyone important, mocking her as a girl who cannot even cultivate yet dares to put on airs. Snarling that she is courting death, he lunges to strike her. One of his companions panics and warns him not to be rash, reminding him that the master of this peak is Shen Shi himself. But the others reason coldly that Shen Shi never cares for his disciples and often beats them to death. Since this girl was never even taught to cultivate, surely he would not turn against Crane White Peak over a single piece of trash, even if she were killed. Han Xianfeng's eyes harden with fierce resolve. To everyone's shock, she meets Zhao's strike head-on, her own energy clashing against his in a blinding burst of force. He recoils in disbelief, unable to understand what just happened. Steadying her stance, she asks whether senior brother Zhao truly means to start a fight on Arbai Peak itself. Zhao reels inside, realizing that even though he had held back at the 3rd level of qi condensation, his blow was somehow blocked by a girl with supposedly no cultivation at all. Furious, he accuses her of secretly stealing techniques from her teacher and declares that he will discipline her in Shen Shi's place, then charges. She braces herself, knowing she is only a beginner and no match for him, but vows that even if she dies here, she will never let him trample on her master's honor. Suddenly, Shen Shi himself appears behind her, coldly asking who gave this man the right to discipline his disciple. With a single surge of power, he blasts Zhao and his companions away. The 3 intruders are sent flying, utterly overwhelmed. He pats Han Xianfeng on the shoulder and tells her she did a wonderful job, and she beams up at him, calling out for her master. Then his face hardens into a fearsome scowl. The 3 Crane White Peak disciples scramble to their knees, frantically begging for forgiveness. He tells them that, since they are only juniors, he will not make things hard for them, and orders them to leave, adding that if there is any issue, their master can come and speak to him directly, all while keeping Han Xianfeng protectively at his side. He gently asks if she is injured, and she assures him that she is not hurt at all. She points out that he beat the men senseless without even knowing what was going on, and he casually asks her what exactly they had come here for. We then learn what really became of the cranes. Shen Shi had been keeping the surviving birds in his blossoming garden, tending to them himself all month long. He impatiently asks the cranes when they are finally going to mate and give him a few nests of eggs, declaring that he is counting on the big ones to breed little ones so he can get rich, while Dong Yerweli looks on thoroughly bewildered. He grumbles that it makes no sense. He only ate 1 crane, leaving 3 males and 3 females, so he cannot understand why they still refuse to breed, as a roasted crane labeled cause of death. Single sits beside him. He shrugs the whole matter off with a careless whatever, Dong Yerwei standing beside him. He turns to her and asks whether her foundation-building realm has finished stabilizing. She confirms that, thanks to the master's medicinal pill, she was able to break through and steady herself. He hands her a manual, explaining that now her foundation is complete. She can begin learning spells. Since she possesses a rare mutated ice root, close in nature to water, he gives her a spirit-level water technique to practice, telling her to ask him if anything is unclear. She gratefully accepts, vowing to train hard and never disappoint him. But later she finds herself waiting and wondering aloud why the master is taking so very long. Blushing, Dong Yueli murmurs that he has not disciplined her in such a long time that she can hardly stand it anymore. As its name suggests, the Immortal Sapling Conference is a grand selection event where the immortal sects gather to choose the younger generation worthy of walking the path of cultivation. The trial is held around a great glowing orb set into a ring of carved stone. Though the Shangding sect is still a lesser-known name, it is very much on the rise, and so it always carries itself in a fair and righteous manner. Its allies, the Yuhua sect and the Dongming Pavilion, have also come to observe for the quality of the disciples recruited here can shape the rise or fall of a sect for decades, even centuries to come. One elder reminds everyone to watch the candidates carefully. Meanwhile, Shen Shi lounges in his seat in the most undignified slouch imaginable, until one of his disciples sighs that sitting like that completely ruins his reputation. Across the way, a red-haired beauty turns her gaze toward him, as someone beside her notes that the man over there is Shen Shi of the Shangding sect. Looking him over, she remarks with a smile that he is quite an interesting person. Her pink-haired companion teases her, asking whether Sister Lo has actually taken an interest in him. Sister Lo amuses that, if only he did not carry such a dark history, she might even have considered it. Catching the words from afar, Shen Shi blinks and lets out a baffled, "Huh." The red-haired beauty gives him a playful, coy look, toying with the cloth at her collar. Two old elders nearby nearly leap from their seats, utterly scandalized, while another simply hums with quiet interest. To everyone's shock, Shen Shi springs a sudden nosebleed, cursing his own troublesome charm, as the red-haired Xuanyu cries out that her master is bleeding. He presses a cloth to his nose and waves it off, claiming he has simply been eating too much rich food lately, while little Kang Yuling pipes up that the girl he was looking at is truly amazing. When he asks what is so amazing about her, Kang Yuling only flushes and sputters. She far too flustered to finish the thought. Off to one side, a pair of lecherous old elders sip their tea and trade crude jokes, snickering that a certain beauty's figure puts even the eldest and second senior sisters to shame. Shen Shi sighs that these people are hopelessly shallow, and the world only grows worse by the day. And one of the old men snaps right back, asking whether a man like him is in any position to judge anyone. Turning his thoughts to the plot, Shen Shi recalls that this is the very moment the protagonist, a boy named Xiao Qi, is finally meant to make his grand debut and stand out in the final trial. The view sweeps up to a dizzying iron chain bridge, strung high across a misty gorge. A determined young boy comes flying across the swaying chains with a fierce shout, racing far ahead of the other children scrambling behind him. An elder watching from the platform admits, with pleasant surprise, that he never expected such a fine seedling to emerge from this year's Immortal Sapling Conference. The master of Danqing Peak explains that the Iron Chain Bridge is meant to measure how well a candidate's spiritual root resonates with spiritual power, yet this child is not hindered by it in the slightest. If anything, the bridge seems to lend him strength. He declares he has never seen affinity like it, and that the boy's future is without limit. The elders buzz that this is a true blessing for their Shangding sect, and one insists that so gifted a seedling should be placed directly under the patriarch himself for the finest possible training. The patriarch raises a calming hand, urging the elders to settle down and first take a proper look at the child's spiritual root attributes. Shen Shi reflects that, much as he would love to take the boy as his own disciple, he really ought to check their root compatibility first, since among all the elders and peak masters there may well be someone better suited to guide him. With a sly look, he thinks to himself that the others can enjoy their excitement for now, and he will see whether they still want this prized disciple later on. An elder sighs that, whatever else may be said, the Shangding sect truly owes Shen Shi a debt. We learn that all of Shen Shi's disciples were chosen at past conferences, yet not a single peak master or elder had ever been willing to take them in. By the rules, every child who clears all the trials and reaches the cloud platform automatically becomes a disciple of the Shangding sect. But there were always a few outliers the elders and peak masters refused, and in the end it was Shen Shi who accepted them, sparing the whole sect from embarrassment. So now, one elder offers if any other good seedlings happen to turn up, he will gladly put in a word to help Shen Shi take in one or two of them. The patriarch, a kindly old man named Ning Cheming, warmly congratulates the children on passing the test, declaring that those now standing upon the cloud platform are officially disciples of the Shangding sect. Several of the newly chosen children stand together on the platform, among them a quiet white-haired boy and a sharp-eyed boy with a neat topknot. The patriarch continues that, Once their spiritual roots have been examined, each of them will be assigned a fitting master to guide them along the road of immortal cultivation. He unrolls a scroll and calls for those whose names he reads to step forward and stand within the formation at the center of the stage. As glowing bars measure each candidate, the Master of Dancing Peak invites a child blessed with the triple roots of water, wood, and earth to join Dancing Peak. Standing in the formation beneath the floating symbols of the elements, the girl bows and answers that this disciple is willing. Back at his seat, his eldest disciple Dongyureli warns Shen Shi that if he keeps dozing through the proceedings, every well-qualified recruit will be snatched away by the other elders and peak masters. He scoffs, asking what is so great about that, since he never wanted disciples in the first place, and the handful he already has are quite enough trouble. Dongyureli wryly notes the rumor going around the sect that her master is a trash king who loves to collect good-for-nothing disciples. Beside her, little Kang Yearling beams with pure delight, and Dongyureli points out that this is hardly a compliment worth being so happy about. Out in the formation, another child is tested, and an elder exclaims in wonder at what a pure wood spiritual root she possesses, as brilliant green light blooms around her. Shen Shi sits up, recognizing her at once. This little one is Wei Qin, destined to be the very first member of the protagonist Shao Qi's future harem, a tiny glutton whom the hero will one day win over entirely through the way to her stomach. An elder asks whether Shen Shi would like to take this wood-rooted child as his disciple, while another quietly reasons that since so many fine seedlings have appeared this year beyond just Shao Qi, he might as well hand this one to Shen Shi. A green-haired master grumbles in dismay over how such an excellent seedling could possibly be wasted on so cheap a fellow, and Shen Shi can only fall silent. But Shen Shi declines, saying he is not interested, and suggests the child would be far better off with Taoist Bairan of Lingju Peak. He knows that Bairan practices a jade bamboo art perfectly suited to Wei Qin's nature, and that by the original plot the girl is meant to be her disciple. The pink-haired Bairan of Lingju Peak protests that this is simply out of the question, insisting that Shen Shi is far stronger than she is, and that so promising a seedling must not be wasted in her hands. An elder agrees that Bairan's cultivation is still shallow, only at the early golden core stage, and that with talent as rare as Wei Qin's, the matter of who should teach her deserves careful thought. Bairan nervously admits that it is true. She is neither strong nor high in standing within the sect, so it really is not her place to claim so gifted a disciple. Shen Shi waves all the fuss aside, telling her to just take the child and teach her well if she wants her. Inwardly, he insists that if he says Bairan is the better fit, then she is the better fit, and he silently dares anyone present to object to Wei Qin becoming her disciple. The green-haired master sputters at him, utterly exasperated, managing only an indignant "You." Bairan gazes at him, clearly touched, and softly murmurs his name. Shen Shi reaches out a hand toward the little girl and tells her to come over, while Wei Qin only tilts her head in confusion. He asks whether she is hungry, then offers her a small cake to eat. As Bairan looks on, patting Wei Qin gently on the head, he tells her to go right ahead and eat it. He adds, half-joking, that she is welcome to enjoy his cakes now, just so long as she does not go following Shao Qi one day to help kill him. Leaving the little girl thoroughly puzzled, Bairan lowers her head and thanks him sincerely. He waves it off, saying she truly is the most suitable teacher for Wei Qin, and that he is only stating the plain truth. Then his eyes glint with anticipation, as he thinks to himself that the real show is finally about to begin. The patriarch calls for the next candidate, and a brown-haired boy with a neat topknot steps onto the formation, as his name rings out across the platform: Shao Qi. With everyone else assigned, Shao Qi is the only candidate left to be tested, and the elders are already squabbling over him, each hoping so prized a seedling might fall to them, while one insists the patriarch will surely claim such a gifted boy as his own personal disciple. Patriarch Ning Cheming calls for Shao Qi to come forward. The boy steps up, cups his hands, and respectfully greets the immortal master. The patriarch praises him warmly as both talented and composed, assuring him that no matter whose disciple he becomes, a bright future surely awaits him. Shao Qi stands at the center of the formation, eyes closed, a ring of water rippling beneath his feet as the test begins. Two elders lean in, watching with barely contained excitement. Shen Shi simply rests his cheek lazily on one hand, smirking to himself that he cannot wait to see who is still so eager to take the boy now. The orb above Shao Qi flares to life, blazing with the bright shape of fire. The patriarch beams that the boy's fire attribute is exactly the same as his own. A blue-haired elder concedes that, with a fire spiritual root, no one in the sect is qualified to compete with the patriarch for this disciple. Stroking his beard, the delighted patriarch begins to announce that, since Shao Qi carries a fire root, he himself will be the one to take him. But before he can finish, a second orb bursts open beside the first, glowing green with the element of wood, leaving the boy himself stunned. The reading announces a dual root of fire and wood. Though not as fine as a pure fire root, it is still a respectable combination, and the pink-haired Bairan startles, asking everyone to wait a moment. Then a third element is detected, a triple root of fire, wood, and earth, At 3 roots, the verdict drops to merely mediocre qualifications. The patriarch's face falls as he sighs. This, alas, what a pity. Shao Qi and another boy both gape in disbelief, stammering out their confusion. One after another, the orbs keep appearing until all 5 elements swirl around him at once. Metal, water, fire, wood, and earth. An elder cries out in horror that, with all 5 elemental roots, the child has turned out to be nothing but rubbish with no talent for cultivation at all. The elders mutter darkly, grumbling that they thought they had found something extraordinary, only for it to be a complete waste, and that the result is frankly disgusting. Shao Qi stands trembling and alone, as an onlooker wonders aloud how the boy will ever manage to walk off the stage after looking so confident only moments before. The patriarch tells Shao Qi that, though he has no talent for cultivation, the rules still grant a candidate who passes the trials a 3-year probation. He then asks which elder or peak master is willing to accept this disciple. The blue-haired elder only stares in silence, offering nothing. Byran and a dark-haired girl shift uneasily, while another elder scoffs that there is no point taking in such a useless child who would only become a laughingstock for the whole sect. The patriarch asks once more whether any fellow Taoist at all is willing to accept this disciple. Shen Shi props his chin on his hand and drawls that, with everyone shooting him those meaningful looks, they might as well just say his name out loud. One elder pleads with the patriarch that such an utterly ordinary person should not be admitted into their sect under any circumstances. Another argues that without talent one can never become an immortal cultivator, and since this Shao Qi falls outside the rules they set, they are perfectly free to simply turn him away. Then Shen Shi steps forward, approaching the trembling boy from behind, and gently asks the little one his name. Eyes brimming with tears, the boy answers that he is called Shao Qi. Shen Shi asks why he is crying, telling him that a boy is going to grow into a man one day, and tears have no place on a man's face. Shao Qi scrubs the tears away with his sleeve, and answers with a firm yes. Shen Shi then asks him plainly whether he is willing to become his disciple. The boy whispers that he is willing. Then, throwing his head back, he shouts it for the entire conference to hear that he is willing. Shen Shi tells him to simply believe in one single thing, that sooner or later this entire world will come crawling beneath his feet. Overcome, Shao Qi drops to his knees and asks his master to please accept a bow from this disciple. Shen Shi says he has seen quite enough of this dull conference and tells the boy to come along with him. As Shao Qi happily answers, Shen Shi thinks to himself that this is exactly the look he wanted, and that the boy's devotion to him is already maxed out completely. He gloats that by gathering the rarest top-tier characters to his side, he has already begun rewriting the plot of his own death, so that from now on he can finally live in peace of mind. Beaming, he throws up a triumphant thumbs up and declares himself the invincible villain master surrounded by his apprentices, bound for a perfect ending amid a shower of blossoms, while a thoroughly baffled Shao Qi can only blink in confusion. The scene shifts to Erbai Peak, where Shen Shi announces that from this day forward, Shao Qi is a disciple of his peak. Seated with Dong Yureli and Kang Yuling behind him, he tells the boy that although the talent he showed today was poor, he firmly believes that one day Shao Qi will prove his true strength, and the boy vows that he will never let his master down. We are told the master has grown rather fond of this new little disciple, who normally wears the slack, deadpan look of a listless salted fish. Shen Shi hands over a pill, explaining that it is a qi-gathering pill. Given the boy's current level, he should take it with water, but first divide a single pill into 10 portions and swallow just one each time he cultivates to aid his progress. Dong Yurli is scandalized, protesting that the master has gone soft, since their junior brother has only just begun, and should hardly be handed such pills to fuel his growth. Shen Shi replies that for ordinary people a pill like this might indeed speed their growth, but for a pure-bodied talent like Shao Qi, with such perfect spiritual affinity, it does nothing of the sort. Dong Yueli bows low, declaring that it was she who spoke out of turn and begging her master to punish her, while Kang Yuling looks on speechless. Shen Shi waves it off, saying it is fine since she only spoke up for the sake of her younger brother, so he will not punish her. At that, Dong Yureli grows oddly anxious, asking why he has not disciplined her in so long, and fretting that perhaps she has done something wrong and he is now utterly disappointed in her. He hastily reassures her that she has been doing a fine job. Off to the side, Shao Qi hesitates, mumbling a small then the boy speaks up, calling out to his master, and the two of them turn around. Shen Shi suddenly remembers that their junior brother is still standing right there, much to Dong Yurweli's quiet relief at the rescue, and he asks Shao Qi whether there is something he wishes to say. Fidgeting nervously, the boy confesses that, in truth, she is actually a girl and that her real name is Shao Qi. Shen Shi freezes, his mind blanking out entirely, surrounded by question marks until all he can manage is a stunned, disbelieving huh. Up on Erbai Peak, Shen Shi asks his newest disciple whether, after these few days, Qi has any questions at all about cultivation. Perched awkwardly on his lap, The girl admits she understands everything in theory. She simply cannot find a comfortable posture for the step of drawing spiritual energy into the body. He gently tells her there is no rush in cultivation, then adds that she can stop squirming around now, since drawing energy into the body is not actually meant to be done like this. Snuggling close, she marvels that her master is truly amazing, since he was not the least bit surprised to learn she is a girl, which surely means he saw through her disguise long ago. He smoothly bluffs that, with her clan fallen on hard times and the road here crawling with bandits, dressing as a boy was simply the wisest choice for a young woman, and that he would never dream of exposing her. Inwardly, though, he is reeling, demanding to know why his male lead has turned into a woman and what is to become of the hero's whole harem. Then a thought lights up, and he reasons that perhaps the story can still work out, and that this surprise might even turn out to be a rather pleasant upgrade. He produces a cultivation manual and reads that those born flawed, with all 5 elements obstructing one another, find spiritual energy entering the body only in broken fits, so they must gather it bit by bit until, little by little, it grows abundant and at last transcendent. He explains that, because Qi carries all 5 elemental roots, the very first step of drawing in energy to refine Qi is something she simply cannot manage. But he tells her not to worry, since he will solve this problem for her himself. He announces that today he will teach her all the rules a cultivator must know by heart, and she cheerfully agrees. The scene shifts to the kitchen, where the white-haired Han Xianer proudly carries in 2 more dishes, both of them the master's favorites. She is certain the master will be delighted, while beside her the eldest sister Dong Yerweli blushes dreamily, lost in a little world of her own. Han Xianer frowns, puzzled, wondering what has gotten into her elder sister today, since she has been acting so strangely. At the doorway, the red-haired Xuanyu reports that she has just sent word to the master, who should arrive soon with Cherer. As a table groans under a feast and little Kang Yuling cheers that it is finally time to eat. Xuanyu marvels that they even have roasted cranes today, while Kang Yuling blinks and asks, "Wait, a charcoal grilled crane?" Kang Yuling suddenly realizes the danger, asking her third sister whether this was not one of the very birds the master specifically ordered them to look after, and why on earth she turned it into a dish, leaving Han Xianer to gasp in dismay. Xuanyu freezes in alarm, for at that very moment the master is arriving at the door with cheer. Shen Shi strolls in, announcing that he is absolutely starving after training with cheer all morning. He privately admits that, with a golden core body, he does not actually need to eat at all, yet Han Xianer's cooking is simply too excellent to resist. He grows especially eager at the sight of the roasted crane, all but drooling that he has never been able to forget how it tasted last time. Then he sees it clearly and erupts, demanding to know why his precious cranes have been roasted, and worse, that these were 2 of the females. The disciples whisper in amazement that the master can even tell the gender of a roasted crane, while he silently laments that he had been feeding those medicine cranes precious snowdrops, hoping they would mate and lay eggs to make him rich. One sister hushes the others, warning that the master is about to lose his temper. Shen Shi roars, demanding to know who did this. A heavy silence falls as the terrified disciples drop to their knees before him, his aura blazing like fire. Then he draws a long, slow breath, visibly forcing himself to calm down. He tells them all to get up and not be afraid, then asks once more, far more gently, who was responsible. Inwardly, he scolds himself, remembering that a mere medicine crane means nothing compared to these dear disciples, and that he had simply lost control for a moment, slipping back into the violent nature of the original Shen Shi. A small hand tugs at his sleeve, as someone steps forward to confess that it was her doing. It is Dong Yueli, who declares that she gave Han Xianer permission to cook the bird, and that she herself was the one who caught the cranes, and she asks her master to please punish her. With a soft thud, she sinks to her knees before him. Then, cheeks flushed and strangely eager, she begs him to be sure to punish her severely. Shen Shi can only stare, utterly thrown, mumbling a baffled "what in the world?" He thinks to himself that, strange as the mood has become, it would look odd if he did not punish her at all, and the real problem is simply figuring out how, while Dong Yueli presses his hand to her cheek and pleads with him to punish her quickly. Innocently, little Kang Yuling pipes up, asking whether an elder sister who makes a mistake is supposed to be spanked. The idea strikes Shen Shi as perfect. He reasons that a spanking in front of her junior sisters would be a mild, harmless punishment that keeps him looking like a low-key, even-tempered master and leaves his hard-won good image intact. While Kang Yuling repeats the word spanking in surprise, he settles onto a chair and orders Dong Yerweli to come here at once, and she eagerly answers, yes. He tells her to lie down, and she drapes herself across his lap, flushing happily and murmuring her agreement. As she lies there utterly content, Shen Shi falters inwardly, realizing just how awkward this whole situation has become. He notes, a little flustered, that this grown young woman is built quite differently from the small and childlike chair. He raises his hand, reminding himself over and over to stay composed. He silently insists that he must keep his composure and absolutely must not lose control, or his hard-won image as a good master will be ruined. His palm comes down with a smack, and to his bewilderment, Dong Yureli lets out a delighted little cry, hearts practically floating around her. Sternly, he lectures that as the eldest disciple she failed to set a good example, so today she will be punished properly, and he tells the others watching to take this as a warning. Another smack lands, and once again she answers with a blissful swooning gasp, rather than any sign of pain. Blow after blow falls, and Dong Yureli moans with unmistakable enjoyment, even begging her master to use more strength and to punish her ever more harshly right in front of her junior sisters, who look on completely bewildered. At last Shen Shi slumps back, panting and worn out, a teacup in hand, with the blissed-out Dong Yureli still sprawled across his lap. The truth dawns on him. In his own story, he had written Dong Yureli as someone who strangely welcomes such treatment, which is exactly why she endured every cruelty yet never once abandoned Shen Shi. He marvels that the world itself seems to be filling in the logic he never bothered to explain, even if the result is utterly absurd. Thoroughly drained, he declares that he has lost his appetite and tells the disciples to share the roast crane among themselves, grumbling that the heavens really do love to mess with him. Xuanyu and Kang Yuling rush over in a panic, asking their elder sister whether she is all right. Limp and dazed, Dong Yureli weakly reassures them, calling Xuanyu over to her side. She quietly whispers to Xuanyu, asking her to go and fetch a fresh change of clothes, leaving the younger girl momentarily speechless. Xuanyu bolts off, promising to be right back, while Han Xianer and Kang Yuling stand baffled, wondering aloud what has gotten into their second sister, neither of them having the faintest idea. Cheer and a deeply flushed, thoroughly satisfied Dong Yureli sit side by side in awkward silence. And off to the side, the little Cheer giggles to herself, utterly delighted by the wonderfully chaotic household she has just joined. We open on Shen Shi relaxing alone in his bath with a long, contented sigh. He reflects that, these days, Dong Yureli at least keeps herself somewhat restrained in front of her junior sisters and manages to protect her image. But in private, he sighs, she has been getting completely out of hand. As if summoned, she appears at the door, asking whether the master called for her. While he startles in the tub, he reminds her, with growing exasperation, that he has told her many times he does not need any help while he is bathing. Wrapped only in a towel, she insists that it must be so exhausting for him to teach them every day, and offers to come and wash his back for him. The moment dissolves into chaos as she clambers toward the tub, and he protests sharply that she cannot simply barge in like this. Kneeling close by in her towel, she softly calls out to her master. Thoroughly fed up, he tells her once more that he already said he does not need help, and orders her to get out quickly. Defiant, she splashes right into the water beside him, declaring that no matter what he wants her to do, she simply will not do it. With a sultry little laugh, she asks whether she ought not to be punished for being so terribly disobedient. Pushing her away, Shen Shi despairs that this world has gone completely mad, wondering how on earth he ended up with a disciple like this, and who could possibly withstand it. Flustered and red-faced, he privately muses that, if only he had written his novel with scenes like this, perhaps it would have drawn far more readers. He turns away, blushing and conflicted, sweat beading on his brow. Just then, a cheerful voice calls out as Cheer announces that she has a question she does not understand and has come to him for advice. Panicking in her towel, the dripping Dong Yureli asks her master what she should do, and he can only echo back, with grim sarcasm, "Oh, what should you do indeed?" He scolds her for never thinking of the consequences, then quickly tells her to go and hide inside the closet. Soaked and clutching her towel, she obeys, begging him please not to let anyone know she was ever here. Shen Shi can only marvel at what kind of absurd plot progression his life has somehow turned into. Gathering his water technique, he decides he had better clear away every last drop of water from the floor and from Yueli's body, or she will surely catch a cold. With a dramatic leap, Cheer bursts in, announcing that she is coming inside. Now hastily dressed, Shen Shi asks Cheer why she has come at such a late hour. Waving brightly, she realizes he was bathing, then explains there are a few things she does not understand and she came to him for advice, while he tells her to go ahead, even though, since she cannot refine Qi yet, she really need not work so hard on the theory. With a playful wink, she leans against the very closet where Dong Yureli is hiding and drawls, "Oh, is that so?" Shen Shi breaks into a nervous sweat, wondering why she keeps glancing at the closet, and dreading that she might somehow sense something is amiss. Inside the closet, the wet Dong Yureli huddles and shivers, while outside Cheer earnestly explains that since her talent is the worst she must start early and work harder, adding that she had wanted to ask her senior sister but could not find her anywhere. Cheer suddenly offers to pour her master a cup of tea first, and he asks her to simply tell him what it is. She does not understand. The view lingers on the shut wardrobe, where the eldest disciple stays hidden. Crammed inside, the flushed Dong Yureli hugs her knees, murmuring about how cramped and stuffy it is in there. Then she presses her face into his robes and sighs that the whole closet is filled with the master's scent. She frets that Cheer is still right outside, and she absolutely must not be discovered. yet she cannot quite bring herself to care. Wrapped in his lingering scent, she grows giddy and overwhelmed, confessing that it is getting her far too excited. Outside, Shen Shi senses the commotion and silently panics, begging Dong Yerweli not to lose herself in there and give the whole thing away. Cheerful as ever, Cheer bounds over, announcing that the tea is ready, but she stumbles, and the tray and teapot go flying through the air as she cries out in alarm. As it all tumbles, Cheer grins slyly to herself, scheming that once the master's clothes are soaked, she will surely get to fetch him a fresh set from the closet. Her little plan is cut short, however, and she blinks in surprise. In a flash, Shen Shi catches the falling teapot and cups in midair, sweeping Cheer safely into his arm. Smiling warmly, he tells her to be more careful. He privately notes how terribly clumsy this disciple is, relieved that at least his clothes stayed dry, since he has no idea whether the closet even holds a suitable change of clothes at the moment. Gently, he tells her it is fine but to take care next time, since wet clothes are no great problem, yet a fall like that would surely have hurt. Inwardly, though, he is certain the little girl did it on purpose. Cheer reaches out a hand toward his robe, and he tenses. Nestled in his arm, she gazes up at him sweetly and promises to obey her master's orders, gushing that the master truly is the best. He reassures himself that she is still so young, she probably cannot grasp such schemes, or at least he certainly hopes not. Out under the bright moon, Cheer finally announces that she will head back now. Left swaying and dizzy, Shen Shi groans that this little girl beat around the bush for a whole hour, and that even a golden core cultivator like himself is about to collapse. Slumping to the floor, he realizes that Cheer was so hard to handle he never got the chance to check on Yueli, and he can only hope she is all right after being shut away for so long. In silence, he pulls the closet open. Inside, the dazed and blissful Dong Yueli, still in her towel, softly breathes out for her master. Exasperated, he hauls her out, snapping that being locked in the closet was surely no fun, and warning that if she pulls this again next time it will be far worse than a closet. To his dismay, she lights up, asking eagerly what other punishment there could be, and happily insisting that whatever it is, whip or flame or hot wax, she will gladly accept anything so long as it comes from her master. Worn down, he tells her that is enough and to go change her clothes quickly, so she does not leave a bad impression on her junior sisters, and she obediently answers yes. Sitting there utterly drained, teacup in hand, he decides that this place has simply become too dangerous, and that if he stays much longer, he will never survive the next round. He tells Yueli that he will be leaving the mountain for a while and asks her to prepare some things for him, instructing them all to stay and cultivate properly for the sect trial coming in half a year. While a startled Dong Yueli asks why he suddenly wishes to leave, he says only that he is going to look for something. Privately, he frets that his precious garden blooms were nearly devoured by those foolish cranes, so he had better hurry and secure the protagonist's cheat treasures before the plot shifts on him yet again. As a puzzled Cheer peeks in, the next day arrives, outside the gates of the Shangding Immortal Sect. Dressed for travel with a satchel over his shoulder, Shen Shi remarks that this is the first time he has left the sect since arriving in this world, and that since his destination is not far, he will simply walk there. Shen Shi's journey takes him along a winding mountain road, where a long caravan of carts and armed escorts makes its way through the valley. A scarred white-haired guard calls out to his mistress, reporting that there is a stream just ahead and asking whether they should stop to rest. From within a curtained carriage, the lady of the caravan tells Commander Gao to let everyone rest by the roadside, since they have traveled without pause for 3 days and the whole party must be exhausted. The weary escorts gather along the path, among them a red-haired young guard with a bandaged arm. Suddenly, the men catch a delicious scent on the breeze, wondering aloud what the wonderful aroma could be, one of them admitting he is practically drooling. The source is a sizzling grill of skewers. Shen Shi savors the moment, declaring that cumin lamb kebab is simply the best, and that climbing down into the ravine to gather cumin seeds was well worth it. Now, he thinks there is only one final touch left. With a dramatic flourish, he sprinkles on the seasoning, announcing that this is the step where he pours in the very heart and soul of the dish. The guards realize it is lamb kebab, while the white-haired commander eyes the strange cook warily. An elderly advisor reassures the commander, telling him to relax, since the man is not a cultivator. The commander approaches as someone offers a gold leaf, and a voice calls out to Uncle Gao, leaving Shen Shi briefly puzzled. Blowing on a hot skewer, Shen Shi privately sizes up the group, noting that only one of them has reached the foundation building stage, and even his spiritual energy is a tangled, exhausted mess, so none of them pose any threat to him. The commander introduces himself politely, saying he is Gao Sheng, the guard commander of Muling Castle. Munching away, Shen Shi simply asks Brother Gao what he can do for him. Holding up a gold leaf, Gao Sheng praises his superb cooking and offers to buy a few skewers, proposing 3 skewers for 1 gold leaf. Shen Shi waves him off, saying he must be joking, that 3 skewers of mutton for a whole gold leaf is far too much, and since he could never eat it all himself, the commander is welcome to take as much as he likes. Touched, Gao Sheng thanks him warmly for his generosity, saying his brothers will finally be able to fill their bellies. Night falls over the camp, smoke curling up from the fire beneath a sky full of stars. Come morning, Shen Shi stretches happily and decides that it is time to move on. Then two beautiful women approach him. A graceful lady in blue and a younger girl in yellow, one of them calling out to the little brother. Shen Shi blushes, wondering to himself whether these two beauties are sisters or perhaps a mother and daughter. Then he bristles, demanding to know just who they think they are calling little. The two women stifle their laughter, blinking at him in surprise. The lady in blue explains that his skewers were wonderfully appetizing and that meeting like this must surely be fate. She introduces herself as Lu Shasha of Muling Castle, presents her daughter Yuding, and asks for his name. Shen Shi answers coolly that cultivators do not give out their real names, and that his Taoist title is Jingzi. Realizing he is a cultivator, Lu Shasha apologizes for any rudeness, though privately she notes that Taoist titles follow set generational rankings, and she has never heard of a Jing generation, so he must have invented the name on the spot, marking him as an unusually cautious young man. She then gently asks whether the young cultivator is in a hurry to be somewhere. Cupping his hands, Shen Shi bluntly says, yes, he will be leaving now, leaving Lu Shasha quite taken aback. She flushes, then bursts out laughing, while her daughter Yuding giggles behind her. Then a thought strikes him. He mentions that he is headed for Duanli Mountain, and asks the lady if it happens to lie on her way, whether she might give him a ride. Blushing, Lu Shasha and Yuding agree, saying that if the little brother truly does not mind it, they would be glad to. That night, the caravan makes camp beside the river, tents glowing softly around their fires. Inside a tent, Yuding combs her hair and asks her mother why she allowed him to travel with them, since the elders said he was not even a cultivator. Lu Shasha replies that odd as the young man is, she could not see through him at all, and whether or not he is a cultivator, he is clearly someone extraordinary, so there is no harm in bringing him along. She adds that he claimed to be heading for Duanli Mountain, a cursed demon mountain overrun by demonic beasts, where it is said not a single soul has ever returned alive, so an unskilled person would never dare to go there. Yuding hugs her mother, hoping aloud that if the man truly is an expert and they can befriend him, she might not have to join the Yuhua sect after all and be parted from her. Lu Shasha gently answers that she too does not wish to be separated, but that in this world such wishes are rarely granted so easily. Nuzzling close, Yuding muses that if he turns out to be truly strong, she will simply marry him, so that their Muling castle will never be bullied again. Far off by the fire, Shen Shi lets out a sudden sneeze, as if someone somewhere were talking about him. Gao Sheng offers his own tent, telling the young man there is nowhere comfortable to rest out in the open, and that he should sleep inside to avoid catching a cold, since he will be standing the night watch anyway. Shen Shi waves it off, saying there is no need, since he does not sleep, then asks why the group is traveling all the way to Yuhua Mountain. Gao Sheng explains that Muling Castle was once counted among the greatest sects in all the martial world, respected even by immortals and honored by the imperial court of the Jade Kingdom, but that after their founding ancestor died, the sect suddenly lost its greatest protection. He says that over the years the madam alone has held the whole of Muling Castle together, and that without her wisdom it would long ago have been devoured by hostile rivals. They are bound for Yuhua Mountain because they heard a great immortal sect dwells there, and the madam wishes for the young miss to join it. Shen Shi muses to himself, wondering whether she means the Yuhua sect. Lu Shasha confirms that yes, it is that truly enormous sect, while Shen Shi quietly takes note. He raises a finger and asks whatever became of their old master. Gao Sheng sighs that the master died young before the madam had even arrived. The two were betrothed yet never once met, parted forever before they could so much as meet, and the young miss is a child the madam later adopted, a story well known throughout the martial world. Shen Shi reflects that they are a lovely but unprotected mother and daughter forced to shoulder an entire sect alone. Exactly the kind of vulnerable pair that draws jackals whether they wish it or not, and he realizes he has waded straight into troubled waters. Then he urgently tells Gao Sheng to wake everyone at once, because a fight is coming. Gao Sheng startles, demanding to know what he just said. Shen Shi calmly reports that 300 paces away a large group of enemies is approaching, and that among them are cultivators. Gao Sheng throws up a hand and bellows for everyone to be on alert and prepare for battle. As the camp scrambles awake, Shen Shi rises and says that, since it is fate that brought them together, he will lend them a hand. The ambush erupts in the rainy dark as masked raiders come swarming out of the trees, blades flashing, screaming for blood as they charge straight at the caravan. Lu Shasha plants herself in front of her people and calls out for everyone to stay calm, reasoning that the very fact the enemy chose a sneak attack means they lack the confidence to face Muling Castle head-on. She tells the young cultivator to keep close behind them and gently reassures Yuding not to be afraid, even as a stray blade comes whistling out of the night. Watching her shield him, Shen Shi marvels to himself that even at a moment like this, she still wants to protect a stranger she only met by chance. Yuding glances back at him, anxious and unsure, unable to find any words. He makes up his mind, deciding that since fate has thrown them together, he will simply protect both mother and daughter. As the guards swing their clubs at the raiders, Shen Shi notes that with real cultivators hidden among the attackers, it hardly matters whether these mortals win or lose. And what he truly needs to learn is the exact moment the enemy cultivators will strike. Right on cue, a blazing flying sword comes streaking down out of the sky, and someone cries out that here it comes. An old silver-haired cultivator scoffs that the attacker is nothing but a stray rogue, and moves to meet the burning blade. This is Elder Bai, the caravan's own protector, who sits cross-legged atop the carriage and sends a brilliant arc of sword energy soaring up to defend them. His blade collides with the enemy's fire sword high in the air, the two forces locking together in a shower of sparks. Luoshasha breathes a grateful word of thanks to Elder Bai for the help, but the enemy answers with a whole storm of flaming swords, dozens of them raining down at once in a thunderous explosion of fire and light. Unseen by anyone, Shen Shi lifts a single finger and quietly raises a golden ring of protection around the carriage, brushing the deadly rain aside as if it were nothing. Elder Bai thrusts out his palm with a shout and launches his own sword into the fray. His golden blade carves a long shining curve through the forest as it races toward the hidden enemy. The attacker, a masked cultivator floating in a golden glow, sneers that for all his big talk, the old man is only a lowly foundation-building cultivator after all. The masked enemy lashes back with a whip of sword light, forcing Elder Bai onto the defensive as he descends. Straining against the pressure, the old cultivator demands to know just who his opponent really is. Arms folded, the masked man coldly replies that his name does not matter, and since Elder Bai is only a hired hand running an errand, there is no reason to throw away his life, so as long as he does nothing more, his life will be spared. Then the true mastermind strides out of the trees, a sword case slung over his shoulder, greeting Madame Luo after all this time and remarking that she has grown only more beautiful. Luoshasha's face hardens with fury as she recognizes him, snapping that so it is Lai Sai, and that this whole elaborate ambush must be a bid to seize the estate of Muling Castle. Lai Sai grins that it is both yes and no, for beyond the estate he also wants her, and he mockingly asks whether, when she once refused him so proudly, she ever imagined a day like this would come. Luoshasha turns desperately toward her protector, beginning to call his name, while Elder Bai stands frozen and uncertain. The old cultivator grimly admits to himself that he is simply no match for this man. Quietly, Shen Shi decides that he can no longer stand aside, and begins to step closer as Yuding watches. Luoshasha throws out a hand to stop him, telling the young cultivator not to move, and he can only fall silent. With sorrow in her eyes, she tells him that he was only dragged into this because of them, and begs him to slip away the moment he sees a chance. At last she relents, declaring that whether it is Muling Castle or herself, she concedes, but on one condition, that Lai Si Kai let her daughter and the young cultivator go free. A dark chuckle drifts over them as Yuding and Luoshasha stand together, helpless and uneasy. Lai Sai croons that the eldest lady of Muling Castle is famed far and wide, with eyes like spring water and lips like peach blossoms, as if a banished immortal had come down to walk the earth. Grinning wider, he asks how he could ever let such a beauty slip away now that he has seen the rumors were all true. Elder Bai gathers himself for one last stand, muttering that a hired man must earn his keep, and that since time is running short he will lend his strength one final time. His golden sword lashes out at the masked enemy, who twists away as Lai Sai hovers calmly above the chaos. The masked cultivator only sneers that the old man is overconfident, and turns the attack aside with contemptuous ease. In an instant, Elder Bai's own blade is flung back against him, trapping him helpless within a roaring vortex of swordlight. Caught by his own weapon, the old cultivator cries out in panic for someone to help him. Annoyed, the masked enemy snaps that this is all too troublesome, and binds him fast with threads of crimson energy. Then, a colossal mountain of purple power rises into the night, and a single sword comes streaking toward the masked man, who whirls around in shock. Lai Si Kai freezes mid-sneer as a flying sword buries itself in the stone, a hair's breadth from his face. A bare hand closes around the blade and stops it cold, the surrounding rock splitting from the sheer force of the grip. Freed at last, Elder Bai staggers up, furious and shaken, swearing that he nearly lost his life just now and vowing to teach his attacker a lesson today. Then the old cultivator lets out a weary, almost rueful breath as the tide of battle quietly begins to shift. Luoshasha steps up behind Shen Shi and presses something into his hand, softly calling him young cultivator as she offers him the seal of Muling Castle. He gently folds the seal back into her palm, telling her to put it away, for he is here now and there is no longer any need for it. Smiling as he steadies her arm, he leans in and tells Madame Luo that, truth be told, he is not the least bit young. He guides both women safely behind him, leaving Yuding blinking in bewildered surprise. Lei Sai curls his lip and demands to know where this brat suddenly came from, while the masked cultivator says nothing at all. The view closes in on Shen Shi's cold, violet eyes, calm and utterly without fear. Then his power erupts, a tower of dark spiritual energy bursting from beneath his feet and cratering the very ground around him. Elder Bai is driven straight to his knees, lightning crackling across his body as the crushing aura bears down on him. The masked enemy trembles in terror, gasping that he has never felt cultivation like this, that not even his own master could compare, and he hastily drops down to beg the senior to spare him. Shen Shi stands wreathed in shadow, his glare alone pressing down on everyone present like a suffocating weight. Yuding clasps her hands in awe, marveling that for all the danger and scheming she has known since childhood, she has never once felt so safe as she does now. Certain at last that this man is a true expert, and leaning her head against his shoulder, Lushasha closes her eyes in quiet relief, wondering whether, after carrying such a heavy burden alone for so long, it might finally be all right to lean on him. As the dust of battle settles, Lushasha, Yuding, and Commander Gao bow deeply together, thanking their lord for coming to their rescue. Amused, Shen Shi remarks that although he already insisted he is not young, being addressed as a lord is going much too far. Smiling, Luoshasha and Yuding amend themselves at once, and thank the young master instead. He muses that this new way of addressing him is rather interesting, then puts the thought aside and turns his attention to the two captured enemies kneeling in the dirt. The masked cultivator grovels for his life, blurting out that he is called Fang Daiquan, that his master is Fang Dingshan, an outer elder of the Diqing sect, and swearing that once he returns he will hand over all his treasures, insisting he has nothing to do with the other man. Betrayed, Lei Sai erupts in fury, shouting that he handed over his own family's precious spirit-gathering green lotus seed. So how dare Fang Daiquan abandon him now? Fang Daiquan snarls right back that he never received any such green lotus seed at all. In the blink of an eye, Shen Shi summons a glowing sword between the two of them, the blade flashing so suddenly that both men freeze in alarm. Caught completely off guard, Lei Sai can only gasp a single furious word at him. The shimmering blade shears clean through Lei Sai's own weapon, and he screams in shock. Blood sprays across the night as the strike lands home. Fang Daiquan crumples to his knees, blood at his lips, utterly stunned by the speed of it. Standing calmly with his glittering sword, Shen Shi asks coldly whether he ever gave the two of them permission to move. Trembling, Fang Daiquan begs the senior to calm down, while marveling to himself that one single blow split his sword in two, and wondering just what kind of weapon this could be. Shen Shi privately notes that his true signature blade, the jade bamboo sword, would instantly betray his identity, so he relies instead on his hidden trump card, the Blue Lake sword, which, though only a profound-grade weapon, is more than enough for everything on this lowly beginner map, where spirit-grade treasures are scarce. He reflects that back in his own novel had a whole crowd of characters not thrown themselves in to block his blade for Shaoqi. He could have killed the boy with ease, and he marvels that a final boss like himself is now simply wandering the world, deciding that everyone really ought to be afraid of him. Fang Daiquan pleads once more that he honestly never took any green lotus seed, and that Lei Chiai was only trying to frame him. Shen Shi decides he may as well enjoy playing the villain for once, announcing grandly that the two of them now have 20 breaths, and that whoever brings him the spirit-gathering green lotus seed first, he finishes that the winner will be the one he spares, as a dark and scheming light kindles in Lei Sai's eyes. With a sharp, ugly laugh, Lai Chi Tai makes his move. Fang Daiquan cries out in pain as a volley of arrows streaks in and buries itself all around him. Bow in hand, Lei Sai snarls in triumph while the wounded Fang Daiquan reels under the assault. Then Lei Sai thrusts up a glowing object, crowing that he has found it and offering it to the esteemed sir. Unmoved, Shen Shi simply observes that there are still 5 breaths left to go. A blade suddenly punches straight through, and Lei Sai howls as blood erupts around him. With their faces pressed close in the dark, Shen Shi scoffs at how naive Lei Sai was, asking whether he truly believed the refining chi stage and the foundation building stage were anywhere near equal. He tells the kneeling Fang Daiquan that, just as agreed, he will not be the one to kill him, while Lei Sai's lifeless body lies sprawled in the foreground. Fang Daiquan begins to stammer out his thanks for being spared, just as a streak of golden light flickers to life behind him. A golden sword arc sweeps in, and Fang Daiquan's face twists in sudden terror. Lowering her eyes, Lushasha apologizes for overstepping her bounds, and Shen Shi answers that it makes no difference, since he only promised not to kill the man himself, and a death by another's hand is no concern of his, adding that as her helper he has no intention of being petty over such trifles. Elder Bai then steps forward and presents the fallen foundation building cultivator's treasure, a set of gleaming golden rings, to the senior. Turning it over in his palm, Shen Shi identifies it as an earth-binding lock of the very highest spirit grade. He tells them he has already stripped away its restrictions, and the dead owner's lingering will, and that they may keep it for themselves, warning only that they use it with care so it never costs a life. Elder Bai is astonished, protesting that a treasure of the highest spirit grade is far too precious for him to possibly accept. Shen Shi waves him off, saying he has no taste for such things, that having carried them safely through this crisis he has fulfilled their bond of fate, and that he still has matters to attend to and will be on his way. Eyes closed in deep satisfaction, he privately revels in the moment, fancying that his aura is now that of a sage and a peerless expert, and jokingly warning the world not to fall for him, since he is, after all, merely a legend. But a blushing Yuding hurries to call out for the young master to wait. She asks whether he is still bound for Duanli Mountain and offers, if he does not mind, to let him ride along with them, while Lu Shasha adds that they have yet to thank him properly and could go over the details together on the carriage. Shen Shi falls into a long, deadpan silence. Then, grinning from ear to ear and blushing, he cheerfully agrees to come along. The caravan winds on through a rocky mountain pass dotted with pale blue trees beneath the starlit sky. Inside the swaying carriage, a flushed and slightly breathless Lo Shasha leans toward the young master. Her cheeks burn as she draws close, fussing over him with flustered delight. Seated contentedly between the two beauties with his eyes closed, Shen Shi savors the attention and murmurs how sweet it all is. He then asks whether it is true that she means to send Yuding off to join the Yuhua sect as a disciple. Luo Shasha confirms it, explaining that Elder Bai judged Yuding to have good cultivation talent, so while she is still young, she ought to seize the opportunity. Yuding pipes up that she will soon be 14 and is practically grown, since girls her age are already getting married, while her mother fondly insists that she is not so grown up just yet. Shen Shi reflects that Elder Bai, being only a casual cultivator, knows but half the truth, for though the Yuhua sect is ruled by women and might seem the safer place to send a young girl, there is more to it than that. He knows full well that what they truly practice within that sect is the art of dual cultivation. When Yuding innocently asks what dual cultivation means, he tells her it is not a matter for children and that he will explain another time, adding that first he would like to examine her natural aptitude. He presses a finger to her brow to read her talent. She agrees readily, and a gentle warmth begins to flow into her. Yuding gasps that her body feels hot, yet wonderfully comfortable at the same time. Shen Shi tells her to hold still and promises it will all be over soon, while she squirms, thoroughly flustered. The reading sends warmth coursing through her until she flushes and trembles, quite overwhelmed by the strange new sensation. Drawing his hand back, Shen Shi softly murmurs her name as the result of the reading becomes clear, and to his quiet astonishment, he realizes that Yuding possesses an exceedingly rare, empty spiritual root constitution. Gazing down at the dazed Yuding, Shen Shi turns the discovery over in his mind, an empty spiritual root. He reasons that if the 5 spiritual roots mark a person as mortal, then the empty spiritual root is the constitution of an immortal, one born with the very potential to ascend, able to store the energy of heaven and earth with ease and to cultivate without ever striking a bottleneck. Yet, he notes, because the empty root carries no attribute of its own, it can never wield any elemental power, so even if she cultivates, she can only use that energy to strengthen her own body and health. And in the cultivation world, such a constitution tends to lead to a single grim fate. He thinks darkly that she would be hunted as a living wellspring of power, coveted by countless mighty sects eager to exploit her rare root to force their own breakthroughs, a temptation cruel enough to drive people mad. Recovering at last, Yuding blinks up at him and asks the young master how the reading turned out. With a sly little smile, he tells her that she has wonderful talent and asks whether she would like to become his disciple. Yuding startles, her eyes going wide with surprise. Then she beams and cries out that of course she would. He tells her that now that she is his disciple, she must listen carefully to what he is about to say. He lays down 3 rules. First, he will teach her to cultivate, but she must never reveal that she is a cultivator nor show her power to outsiders. Second, he will not be teaching her constantly, so she must study much on her own while he sets her cultivation goals. Third, no matter what trouble she meets, she may call on him at any time with a messenger stone he will give her, and he will rush to her aid as fast as he can. Yuding answers obediently, "Yes, master." He reflects with quiet pleasure that having a sweet, ordinary disciple like Yuding feels truly nice for a change. Unlike the rest of his household back home, he sighs, where one disciple openly craves punishment, another is a little schemer, and the others are an overgrown baby and a supposed boy, leaving him wondering how he is ever meant to cultivate in peace. Turning serious, he warns Luo Shasha that Yuding's constitution is something rare and special, and that if it is ever revealed carelessly, it could bring ruin down upon the whole family, so the girl must never display her cultivation. Luo Shasha pales and murmurs that this sounds terribly dangerous. He reassures her that he will take care of everything, and that he will arrange one more safeguard for them as well. He turns to the old caravan cultivator, calling him by name Bai Jishui. As the elder sits in meditation wrapped in flickering flame, Bai Jishui opens his eyes and asks what guidance the senior might have to offer him. Shen Shi tells him plainly that his cultivation method is incomplete and is quietly devouring his lifespan, and that although a foundation-building cultivator can live 200 years, the elder's own time is nearly spent, so he proposes a deal. Astonished, Bai Jishui admits that nothing can be hidden from the senior's eyes, and asks what he must do. Shen Shi produces a pill and explains that it is a Yuanling pill, brimming with spiritual energy and vitality, and that taking it for the first time should add a full 10 years to his life. He adds that he will also complete the elder's flawed technique, so that with 10 years of diligent cultivation, Bai Jishui might break through to the late stage of foundation building and live another full century. Overcome, Bai Jishui bows to the ground, declaring that this is the same as being granted a whole new life, and swearing that whatever the senior asks, he will never refuse and will carry it out without the slightest fear. Shen Shi tells him that for the next 10 years he is to become the guardian of Muling Castle, doing everything in his power to protect it whenever it is in need, and the elder vows that he will. Luo Shasha tells Yuding how fortunate she is to have become the young master's disciple, since now there is no need to send her away to the Yuhua sect, and the two of them need never be parted, urging her to obey her master well from now on. With a mischievous look, Yuding reminds her mother of an old tale she once told, that immortals care nothing for worldly etiquette, so that a master and disciple might become a cultivation couple, and even sworn siblings could do the same. Luo Shasha flushes scarlet and gasps at her daughter, demanding to know just what she is thinking. While a pointed cough sounds close behind them, Shen Shi simply stands there in silence, a single bead of sweat sliding down his face. Mortified, Luo Shasha and Yuding stammer that they had no idea the master had returned, marveling that he can truly come and go without leaving a single trace. He sighs inwardly, wondering why taking in disciples keeps making it feel as though he is quietly assembling a harem. He tells them that Bai Jishui has agreed to protect Muling Castle, and that with him standing guard there will be few who dare to threaten it. Luo Shasha thinks to herself that Elder Bai is a foundation-building cultivator, and that it once took enormous effort merely to coax him down the mountain at all. Yet now, she marvels, he has agreed to be their protector so readily, and she cannot help wondering just how strong this young master truly is, while Shen Shi tells them there is no longer any need to visit the Yuhua sect, so they should head home, and that he will call on Muling Castle in person before long. Yuding clutches at his sleeve, and softly calls out to her master. Smiling gently, he tells her there is no need to stare since this is not his true face, and promises to let her see his real appearance before he leaves. Water spirals around him as Luo Shasha and Yuding look on in wonder. The disguise melts away to reveal his true form, a strikingly handsome man with long black hair and a golden crown, and he tells his good disciple that the technique has already been passed to her, so she must cultivate well, for he will come looking for her soon. Both women stare with burning cheeks, utterly dazzled by his real face. Then, he shoots away in a streak of water that winds down through the green mountain valley below. Racing along at tremendous speed, Shen Shi frets that he has wasted far too much time and must hurry now. He reckons that he should be able to reach his destination within 2 days. The tale warns that Duanli Mountain is an ominous place, with no human dwelling for 100 miles and forests crawling with venomous snakes and beasts, home even to the Qinglin poisonous toad, a creature as strong as a nascent soul cultivator. Hiding behind a tree, Shen Shi notes that the fruit of a 5-element tree can refine and improve a cultivator's spiritual root, and that even a nascent soul demonic beast may take on human form with its power. The enormous Qinglin poisonous toad squats close by, and he realizes it must be guarding the tree, waiting patiently for the fruit to ripen. Lounging in the grass, he admits the fruit holds little interest for him, since what he truly came for is the 5-element stone buried beneath the tree, a stone that balances and stores all 5 elemental powers, and would make the perfect foundation for Chier to cultivate. And he decides that rather than bother slaying a nascent soul beast, he will simply wait for it to leave and collect the stone afterward. On the first day, the toad sits stubbornly by the tree while Shen Shi sprawls lazily in the grass. On the second day, nothing at all has changed. The toad still on guard and the author still waiting. By who knows how many days later, he lies flopped flat on the ground, his patience wearing dangerously thin. He grumbles that this lazy toad eats, sleeps, and never once budges from its spot, exactly like himself, so no amount of waiting will ever make it move, and he wonders whether he should simply force his way through and kill it. Then he clutches his head, deciding that brute force is absolutely the wrong answer, since this has become a matter of his pride. Inspiration strikes, and he remembers that his real specialty is traps and illusions, reasoning that a toad this lazy must surely share his own tastes, so a clever illusion should do the trick. The great toad lets out a slow, drowsy croak, and so Shen Shi conjures an illusory sweetheart, a charming pink toad blowing a little heart, to lure the lazy guardian away from the tree. The great guardian toad freezes mid-hop, utterly smitten by the lovely pink newcomer who has appeared before it. The illusory pink toad blows it a flirtatious little heart. Shen Shi pumps his fist in triumph as the lovesick guardian goes hopping off after the illusion down the riverbank. He muses that this lecherous toad is a true kindred spirit who follows his instincts faithfully, so his backup plan of poison and laxatives will not be needed after all. With a sly grin, he privately hopes the smitten creature will stay occupied for a good long while. But then a brash, booming voice suddenly rings out across the valley, bellowing at the demonic beast to watch this. The toad goes tumbling through the air with a startled croak, and Shen Shi can only stare in confusion. As the creature flips end over end, he falls into a flat, baffled silence. Whirling about in a rage, the toad screams curses and roars for the human to die. A sword comes splashing down into the water. Shen Shi catches his blade with a frown and asks the beast just why it is cursing at all. He surges forward on a rushing crest of water, his stepping wave technique carrying him straight into the fray. The toad sneers that he is only a mere golden core cultivator and clearly does not know his place. With a thunderous crack, Shen Shi's blade slams into the toad and sends blood flying. Hurled through the air, the dazed toad can only sputter out a string of bewildered question marks. It gasps that this is impossible, wondering aloud whether human cultivators have all somehow grown this strong. Shen Shi gleefully hammers it again and again, chanting stepping wave, and stepping wave once more, while the battered toad falls speechless. Then he scowls toward the horizon, fuming about whatever fool ruined his chance by screaming and shouting across 10 whole miles, wondering if they are actually afraid their ambush might somehow succeed. A vast lotus of flame blooms in the sky, and the cowering toad realizes that if the golden core cultivator just now was already so terrifying, then an attack from a nascent soul cultivator could flatten it along with the entire mountain. The toad steels itself, deciding that if it is going to die anyway, then it will at least die with its dignity intact. The blazing lotus comes plunging down, only for a streak of blue energy to slice in and intercept it. The two forces collide in a blinding burst of light. Bewildered, the newcomer stammers that her devastating ultimate move, packed with such overwhelming pressure, simply vanished into nothing. She declares that to break apart her Samadhi fire lotus, the demonic beast must truly have some skill. Wreathed in flame, the woman vows that it still will not stop her from carrying off the 5-element fruit today. Shen Shi recognizes her at once, realizing she is Yu Wushuang, the famed prodigy of the Taiyun immortal sect and the sect leader's own daughter. Floating in the water, the toad grumbles that human cultivators are all the same after all, deciding it must have simply misjudged things a moment ago. Then a sudden burst of water sends the startled toad splashing through the shallows. Yu Wushuang lashes out with a flaming kick. She cries out the name of her technique, the scorching phoenix cry, and a great bird of fire blazes to life above her. The fiery phoenix sweeps down at the toad, only for another quiet streak of blue water to cut across its path. Recovering, the toad mockingly croaks that she must be frightened now, demanding to know how she dares try to steal its treasure. Yu Wushuang scoffs, asking why she would ever bother using her fire phoenix to deal with the likes of it. She declares that she can finish the creature off perfectly well with her own 2 hands. The toad blinks in honest confusion, asking then why she wasted all that energy summoning the phoenix at all, and whether it was merely for show. Unseen by either of them, slender blades of water keep darting in to stir the fight along. Yu Wushuang shouts for the toad to take this, just as another hidden water strike whips dangerously close to her. She startles, letting out a puzzled cry. Dodging aside, she gasps that it was a close call and that her clothes very nearly got dirtied, never guessing who is really behind it. Watching it all unfold, Shen Shi buries his face in his hand, despairing that this is easily the most brain-numbing battle he has ever witnessed. The toad, certain it has the upper hand, gloats that the human is nothing but a fool. Yu Wushuang suddenly clutches at her face and accuses the toad of using poison, spitting that it is utterly despicable. Flushed and sweating, she realizes with alarm that this is very bad. The toad cackles that once someone is touched by its Qinglin poison, even a god transformation cultivator will find their strength sharply weakened for a time. Its long tongue snaps out, like a whip. Yu Wushuang cries out as the sticky tongue coils around her, while the toad muses aloud about what a nascent soul cultivator might actually taste like. Then, a blade of water comes slicing in with the call of stepping wave. The toad snaps that not this again, insisting it is no longer afraid, and that it was simply being careless before. With a heavy crash, the toad is slammed flat to the ground. Howling in fury, it demands to know how he dares ambush it, and asks where on earth his sense of honor has gone. The toad retaliates, unleashing a roaring blast of its Qinglin poison gas. Shen Shi simply rides another stepping wave, straight through it. A final crashing blow lands, and his opponent is sent flying, screaming whether that one single move is truly all he knows. Sprawled and helpless on the grass, the poisoned Yu Wushuang can only whisper a feeble no as his boots step closer. Smirking down at her, Shen Shi proudly announces that that one was his real stepping wave, leaving the fallen prodigy utterly defeated behind him. Shen Shi raises his shimmering water blade once more and calmly names the technique, Stepping wave. Under a blood-red sky, the fallen Yu Wushuang faces the glowing arc of his blade. A roaring torrent of water pins her to the ground, and even the great toad is left helpless before it. Trapped in the surging current, the dazed toad can only stammer that this simply cannot be. It gawks at the towering wall of water, gasping that such overwhelming power should be impossible. Lowering his blade, Shen Shi coolly tells the toad that he will not kill it, so long as it stays out of his way. The toad immediately grovels, croaking out its trembling thanks for being spared. Strolling up to the five-element tree, Shen Shi grumbles that he could have claimed the prize with ease if that foolish girl Yu Wushuang had not interfered, sparing him from settling things in such a crude and clumsy fashion. Recovering herself, an embarrassed Yu Wushuang asks whether he might spare her some of the five-element fruit, promising that he may name any price at all. He retorts that she may name any price, then asks what she will do if he simply refuses to sell, noting to himself that she is the same as ever, always set on seizing anything she decides is worth having. Yu Wushuang flushes, flustered and at a loss for words. Then she blurts out an offer: 5 fifth-grade elixirs in exchange for a single fire-natured 5-element fruit. The toad nearly chokes, croaking that she could have named that price from the very start, since it would gladly have handed over all 5 fruits, and it demands to know why on earth they had to fight at all. Shen Shi grasps the truth, that the toad guarded the fruit only because it longs to transform, and that the finest transformation elixir is merely 5th grade, the very thing Yu Wushuang was offering all along. He cups her face in his hand and murmurs that this is so very like her. Inwardly, he sighs that Yu Wushuang, his old flame from another life, has not improved in the slightest. Yu Wushuang presses on, offering more in case he feels it is still not enough. She holds up a glittering blue stone, asking what about this, and the toad gasps that it is a winter mountain spirit stone. But she falters at once, hugging it close and admitting that no, on second thought, she truly cannot part with this one. She fishes out yet another treasure, asking how about this instead, then wavers all over again, while the toad cries out that it is a cloud-hidden jade. The sly toad leans towards Shen Shi and proposes that the two of them join forces to rob her of all her treasures, even offering to poison the lovely lady so the human can claim her for himself. Shen Shi coldly tells it to shut its mouth if it still wishes to live, and the toad squeaks in fright. Then he rounds on Yu Wushuang, scolding her to stop pulling out treasure after treasure, asking whether nobody ever taught her to be careful when she travels abroad. Cheeks burning, she sheepishly admits that, well, she actually snuck out on her own. Shen Shi slumps, wondering why he is somehow the one who feels wronged here. He turns and flicks a thread of water toward the great tree. The water coils around the trunk and spirals up through the branches. With a sharp motion, he plucks a fruit clean from the tree and catches it neatly in a cloth. Watching glumly, Yu Wushuang lets out a small, defeated sigh. He tells her not to sigh, since he will simply give this to her, and holds out a glowing orange fruit, leaving her startled. She stares, hardly daring to believe it, asking whether he truly means to give her the fire element fruit. He warns her that when she travels, she must never flaunt her wealth, or those with wicked hearts will mark her as prey, and that if that happens, no matter how powerful her family backing, she may not escape injury or even death, so she should take the fruit and head home early. Yu Wushuang blushes deeply, quietly touched by his words. A little flustered himself, he urges her to just take the thing already, holding the fruit out toward her. Her thoughts drift away, and she wonders why she keeps thinking of him, since this young man is so very like the one she remembers, a showy fool who always got in her way, and she muses to herself that she wonders how he is doing now. Gathering herself, she insists she cannot accept his gift for nothing, telling him to name a price and promising him anything he might desire. Shen Shi answers that the 5-element fruit is not so very precious to begin with, and that he will trade it for a single transformation elixir and 1 ingot of Deluo gold. Yu Wushuang is impressed, marveling that he is not only high in cultivation but skilled in refining as well, and calling it truly remarkable. With a modest, sly little smile, he allows that he knows just a little. She produces the transformation pill, apologizing that she carries no refining materials with her, but promising a way to deliver the rest later, and presenting the mother blade of a paired artifact called the channeling jade sword, vowing to send the gold through its companion child blade once she returns to her sect. Privately, Shen Shi notes that the value of this channeling jade sword alone already far exceeds that of both the fruit and the transformation pill combined. With a playful wink, she introduces herself as Yu Wushuang of the Taiyun Immortal sect, declaring that since he saved her life she will repay him handsomely, and explaining that beyond transferring items, the jade sword lets him reach her at any time. In turn, he gives her a name, calling himself Qian Ren, a humble casual cultivator. Yu Wushuang soars away on a streak of light, calling back for Qian Ren to remember to contact her, while he watches her go and sighs that she really is a silly girl. Then he turns to the lingering toad, holding up the transformation pill and saying that if it does not want the elixir, it is free to leave, and the creature freezes in shock. The toad scrambles to flatter him, blurting out "Sir," then "Grandfather," asking in disbelief whether he truly means to hand over the transformation pill, and Shen Shi asks what else it imagines he would need it for, adding that in return, the toad must help him with something. The toad asks whether he really expects it to become his pet, over nothing more than a single pill. Shen Shi gives a sinister smile and levels his blade, asking whether that means it would rather refuse, and the toad hastily insists that of course it is willing to do anything, begging him to please lower the sword first. He tells it to eat the pill, explaining that a demonic beast is at its most vulnerable while transforming, and that the elixir's scent will draw a swarm of other beasts, yet promising to keep it safe, while the nervous toad points out that the whole mountain is crawling with such creatures. Standing tall and unshakable, Shen Shi reassures the toad that with him around, nothing in this world can do it the slightest harm. A peak golden core demon wolf comes charging through the mist, its eyes blazing crimson and its fangs bared wide. Its glare burns scarlet as it bears straight down toward Shen Shi. Standing calm within his swirl of blue energy, Shen Shi remarks that this demon beast at the peak of the golden core stage is bold indeed to charge right at him. He surveys the gathering swarm and reasons that since a nascent soul beast like the toad normally keeps these creatures at bay, that single peak golden core wolf must be the strongest among them. The transforming toad frets that, although none of the beasts can match the master in cultivation, their sheer numbers are simply too great. Shen Shi tells it not to worry, since he is here, and bids it focus on drawing in and absorbing the spiritual energy all around them, adding that he will help gather even more energy. He summons a crackling sphere of blue light in his open palm. With a soft breath, he sets the gathered power flowing. Across the whole valley, the ambient spiritual energy bends and streams toward the two of them. The astonished toad gapes that all the energy for miles is converging on him, wondering whether such a being can truly still be a mere golden core cultivator, or some monster carrying hundreds of golden pills in his belly. Done gathering, Shen Shi pauses to think, admitting that he has no area attacks and puzzling over how to handle this many beasts at once. Then he thrusts out a hand and calls out. First, the pack of demon beasts surges in together, a tiger, a wolf, and more, bearing down through streaks of green light. A great serpent rears up roaring as the technique begins to take hold. He unleashes overlapping mountains, and a vast ring of power folds the terrain shut around the entire swarm, sealing every beast inside. Swinging his blue blade, Shen Shi smirks that since they have all come this far, none of them should think of slipping away, privately delighting that delivering a proper villain line feels wonderful, even to a pack of beasts. His eyes harden as he calls out the name of his move, Stepping Wave. The blade flashes again and again, carving through the trapped horde in a relentless storm of slashes. He stands tall amid the carnage, his blue sword arc trailing behind him as the beasts burst apart into mist. Turning to the toad, he proudly asks how his technique looked. The toad deadpans that there is nothing much to praise, since he only ever uses that one single move. He cheerfully orders it to collect every inner core and material from the fallen beasts, since it is all good money, while the toad privately decides this human is far too terrifying to ever provoke. Running a length of shed serpent hide through his fingers, he marvels at the silky misty snakeskin, musing that back in the modern world such material would make stockings prized enough to be fought over. Then it dawns on him that if it can become stockings, it can surely become weapons too. And he grins, recalling that he means to gift several of his disciples enchanted arms for the coming competition. His imagination runs away with him, conjuring a flustered, blushing Han Xian air until he has to scold himself that this is his own disciple he is daydreaming about. The toad bows its thanks for his protection, announcing that the most dangerous moment of its transformation has safely passed. Pleased, Shen Shi says that since it is about to take on human form, it is time to give it a name, then casually asks whether it is male. Wreathed in sparkles and floating hearts, the toad bashfully replies that she is female. He freezes, utterly baffled, asking then why on earth she had fallen so hard for his illusory white jade frog. The toad reels in horror, wailing that her beloved Xiao Bai Bai, her very first love, was nothing but an illusion all along. He promises that when the time comes he will find her a real sweetheart, and the overjoyed toad happily asks him to give her a name. He decides that since her body is dark like black ink jade, he will call her Xiao Bai, which means little white, and the indignant toad sputters at the sheer cheek of the name. The scene shifts to Muling Castle, where Lu Shasha coldly demands of the gathered elders whether they imagine their scheming shows any regard for her as the acting head of the castle. One elder argues that it is all for the good of Muling Castle and the Jade Kingdom's royal house, reminding her that the sixth prince has even taken an interest in young Yuding. The others press her, fretting that they have already accepted the royal family's betrothal gifts, that breaking the promise now would enrage the mighty Jade Kingdom and its three great cultivators, and that with the prince waiting at the very gate, her agreement would make the castle's future limitless. Luo Shasha snaps that they arranged a marriage behind her and Yuding's backs, and dared to call it good for Muling Castle. She slams the table, declaring that the castle's three great halls have bled money year after year, while the elders' own purses only swell. and that no matter what, she will never agree to this marriage. A purple boot steps into the hall as a smooth voice praises what an inspiring little speech that was. The intruder muses with relish that the lady of Muling Castle is not only striking but fiery in temper, and that he rather likes it. Strolling in, the sixth prince purrs that no one would dream of being forceful with so great a beauty, lamenting that a graceful widowed lady going without a match would be a true waste. Since the two women are not bloodkin, he proposes that they simply call each other sisters and both wed him, vowing that under the backing of the Jade Palace, the castle's power would flourish without limit. Luo Shasha flatly refuses the sixth prince and calls out for Elder Bai. At her command, the order rings out to drive the prince's party from the hall, and her people snap to obey at once. Two of the prince's escorts step forward to resist, each revealed to be a middle-stage foundation-building cultivator. One of them startles in alarm, protesting that they were assured Muling Castle had no cultivator left to protect it. He realizes it is Bai Jishui himself, and that far from being the spent old man the rumors described, his sword chi has grown vastly sharper. The sixth prince, who gives his name as Wang Tang, greets Elder Bai courteously and offers to triple whatever wage the castle ever paid him, however high the sum. Wreathed in golden sword, Chi Bai Jishui declines, stating plainly that he is a protector of Muling Castle with duties of his own, and asking the prince to leave. The prince's two cultivators draw their swords, but one admits he is no match for the elder, and together they decide to withdraw. Back with Shen Shi, the toad peers out and scoffs at the fellow actually turned and walked away like a coward. Lounging back, Shen Shi tells Xiao Bai that pesky young troublemakers like this prince are the very hardest sort to deal with, while the tale warns that the calamities facing Muling Castle are only beginning to surface one by one. The toad points out that since his own disciple lives at Muling Castle, he ought to simply go and clear away her troubles for her. Shen Shi answers that beyond the prince stands the royal family, and behind them an immortal sect, and beyond even that, a still greater immortal sect, sighing that he knows this endless chain of battles all too well, and that readers would find no joy at all in such a dull, dragging string of fights. Back in his hideout cradling the little toad, Shen Shi muses that with Bai Jishui now guarding Muling Castle, and the Jade Kingdom holding its three cultivators, the scales between them stay roughly balanced. So while there may be friction, no great conflict should erupt, which is all for the best. The toad blinks up at him and asks whether the cultivation world is truly so dangerous. Quite dangerous, he answers, telling her she must learn to conceal and disguise herself well and never tempt fate, lest she end up a roasted dish, while the toad grumbles that she is a toad, not a chicken. Then he announces that he will carry her off to meet his disciple, and shoots away on a streak of water. The scene shifts to Yuding's chamber at Muling Castle, where a curtained silhouette sits deep in cultivation. Wrapped in coiling threads of golden light, Yuding breathes steadily as spiritual energy gathers all around her. Her serene face glows softly, while the warm power flows smoothly through her. With a sharp pulse, the energy locks into a ring around her crossed legs. Her eyes snap open, bright and clear with the light of a fresh breakthrough. Catching sight of her arriving master, she cries out for him in delight. Shen Shi praises her warmly, marveling that to reach the first stage in such a short span of days. Yuding is truly remarkable. Overjoyed, she comes flying across the room straight toward him. She all but tackles her master in her excitement, leaving him scrambling to steady them both. He pats her head and chides her gently, asking whether she really must be this thrilled when it has only been a few days since they last met. Clinging happily, Yuding protests that it has been 10 whole days and she has missed him terribly, complaining that last time he vanished the moment he passed on the cultivation method, without even letting her thank him properly. He tells her that so long as she behaves, she need only ask Master for anything she wants, and he will surely see to it. Eyes shining, she asks whether anything at all truly is fine. She nuzzles close with a cheerful cry of Master, and he declares he will reward his good disciple well, while she giggles, flushed with delight. Then her nose suddenly begins to bleed, and he yelps in alarm, asking whether she is all right. Covering her face in embarrassment, Yuding insists she is fine and simply got a little too worked up. He says he has something to show her, privately praying that her sudden nosebleed does not mean what he fears it might. He produces the little toad and introduces her as Xiao Bai, warning Yuding not to be fooled by the cute look since she holds the strength of a nascent soul stage, and explaining that he is leaving her behind to keep his disciple safe whenever he is away. Yuding's face falls, and she asks whether her master is leaving again, fearing that he no longer wants her. He draws her in and reassures her, asking how he could ever cast aside such a foolish dear child. Then he launches away, once more in a surge of water. Nearby, Luo Shasha stands frozen, utterly speechless at what she believes she has just witnessed. Her wide eye trembles with shock, her cheeks flush and her eyes brim as she leaps to the worst possible conclusion. A few drops of Yuding's nosebleed stain the pale cloth, only deepening the misunderstanding. Seemingly caught in the act, A sweating Shen Shi stammers that he can explain, while a quietly seething Lu Shasha looms behind him. Her fury swells into a blazing aura, and he breaks into a cold sweat, fleeing the scene through the sky. He can only groan. Oh no. Out in the open, Luo Shasha rounds on him, calling him a monster, and snapping that Yuding is still a full year from coming of age. Aghast that he could be in such a hurry. Then her anger falters into worry, and she touches her own cheek, wondering quietly whether she herself looks too old now. Shen Shi hurries to reassure her, asking how that could possibly be since the madam is young and lovely. Luo Shasha smiles shyly and says Master must be joking, then apologizes for intruding on them just now. He explains it was all a misunderstanding, that he and Yuding share only a teacher and disciple bond, and that the blood was merely her odd, sudden nosebleed, while Lu Shasha softly calls out to him. With a tearful little smile she tells him she has said nothing at all, so there is no need for him to explain a thing. Flustered, he admits that he was simply afraid she would misunderstand. A sly look crosses her face as she asks just what it is she might be misunderstanding. She presses further, asking why he should care about her feelings even if she did, and a startled Shen Shi tells himself she must be teasing him, that they are both adults after all, so there is nothing to fear. Steeling himself, he slowly reaches out a hand. He pats her gently and says he only feared she would mistake his heart, and a blushing Lo Shasha murmurs that he should simply call her Shasha. She leans closer, purring that addressing her as madam is somehow more thrilling, while Shen Shi frantically blames the lingering instincts of his predecessor's body rather than himself. Recovering his composure, he tells her he has left some things with Yuding that she is welcome to use as well, then blurts that he had better be going now and bolts. He streaks away across the clouds, in a long ribbon of water. Mid-flight, he buries his face in his hand, fretting over why he panicked at the crucial moment, and vowing that next time he will be far bolder. Just then, a bright chime rings out from the jade sword at his side. A glowing panel of messages unfolds from it, asking whether Qian Ren is there, reporting that she has reached her sect branch safely, and promising to contact him often, leaving him to sputter that this thing is practically a messaging app. Bewildered, Shen Shi wonders just what she is plotting, exclaiming that it is as though his old flame means to start chatting him up like online dating. The scene turns to a pair of bare feet stepping lightly, as a satisfied voice notes that, just as expected, he accepted. Lounging in a steaming spring, Yu Wushuang clutches the paired jade blade and huffs at the absent Shen Shi, the heartless rogue she has been chasing, asking whether he truly thought he could hide from her. Stretched out at her ease, she vows that after searching so very long, she will see just where he means to run off to this time. Gazing upward, she wonders aloud why, back then he left without ever saying goodbye. The view rises over Erbai Peak, wreathed in drifting cloud and pale spires of stone. Deep in a misty bamboo grove, a splash and a commotion echo through the green. There, 4 of Shen Shi's disciples are soaking together in a steaming hot spring. The youngest, Yu Ling, gawks at the red-haired Xuanyu and asks whether she might touch her, only for Xuanyu to fluster and steer her toward third sister Han Shener, whose figure is just as ample. The white-haired Han Xianqian air covers herself and nervously asks the junior sister just what she is plotting. Then the eldest Dong Li comes lunging in with a manic grin and glowing eyes, crying for third sister to simply give in, as Han Xianer shrieks. Dong Li seizes the squirming Yu Ling, clucking that the little one has grown a great deal, while her victim wails to know what the eldest sister thinks she is doing. She offers the flimsy excuse that since Master once touched Yu Ling here too, she only wishes to know whether her own touch feels the same as his. One of the girls squeals for the senior sister to please forgive her. Just then, Shen Shi arrives in his true form and stares about in utter bewilderment, wondering when on earth Erbai Peak grew a bamboo forest and a hot spring, and what exactly is going on here. Dong Li pops up to greet him brightly, announcing that she is the one who prepared this lovely hot spring just for him. Pleased, he says that once Li and the others have finished, he will take a relaxing soak himself to wash away the journey. But Dong Li yelps no and scrambles to stop him. Turning suddenly sweet, she explains that she arranged it all so he could conveniently admire his senior sister's bathing, then asks whether, after everything she has done for him, he does not like her just a little. For one dangerous instant she blushes and very nearly admits that he does. Then, he catches himself, his face going flat and cold as a bead of sweat slides down. He drapes the eldest disciple over his knee for a scolding, demanding to know how she dares try such charm tricks on her own master, and where she ever learned such underhanded ways while she howls. Through her tears, Dong Li sobs that she was wrong, explaining she could never cultivate properly, and with the sect trials coming soon, felt she had no choice but to pick up a few means to defend herself. He tells her firmly that this is no reason to use seduction arts on her master, that she need not fret over her cultivation since he came down the mountain precisely to solve that for her, and bids her come find him in his room later, to which she happily answers yes. Then he turns away and says, "All right, Next, a new visitor is announced, Peak Master Bai. The pink-haired Bai ran bows low, greeting Master Shen Shi and apologizing for taking the liberty of calling on him uninvited. He tells her there is nothing to worry about and invites her to talk inside. The two of them walk together toward the hall. Privately, Bai Ran recalls the rumors that Shen Shi is volatile, lofty in cultivation, arrogant, domineering, and cruel to his disciples. Yet now, she reflects, though he is still aloof, he somehow puts people not ill at ease but wonderfully at peace. She muses that surely many must adore him, then catches herself and blushes, wondering what she is even thinking, before murmuring an apology that she has little with which to welcome him. He offers her tea, explaining that Yerlili once dried some Edelweiss herb stalks that brew into a quite drinkable cup, and invites her to sit. Byran says she has come to thank him for that day at the Immortal Sapling Conference, when he recommended Wei Qin to her as a disciple. Pouring the tea, he calls it a trifle, repeating that she was always the one better suited to teach the child. She admits her standing in the sect is low and her disciples few and ordinary, so good talent is nearly impossible for her to win, and adds that with his deep cultivation and water and wood dual root, his choice to hand Wei Qin to her shows he was looking out for her, a kindness she will take to heart. She says her humble Lingju peak holds nothing worthy of him, but that fate led her to an iceberg bamboo jade perfectly matched to his technique, which she now presents as her gift of gratitude, hoping he will not refuse. Startled, Shen Shi protests that such a precious thing surely belongs with her, who must have far greater need of it. Bai Ran insists, her gaze firm, begging him to accept it and vowing that she will remember his kindness forever. He notes inwardly that this soft-spoken, gentle Bai Ran is in truth tender outside and iron within, so resolute that she would not waver even in the face of death. So he accepts, telling her that if ever she faces a trouble she cannot solve, she may come and find him. Eyes brimming, Bai Ran begins to say his name. Sensing there is more, he gently asks whether something else troubles her, urging her to speak and not be shy. She holds out a wrapped bundle and explains that for the coming sect training she wishes to forge a magic treasure for her dear Chinner, and having heard he is a master of refining, has come to ask him to craft a fitting immortal sword, bringing along various materials for him to use. He marvels to himself at how much Bai Ran has prepared, pouring her whole heart out for this one disciple, then agrees aloud, noting that these materials will let him forge treasures for his own disciples too. Grateful, she promises that from now on, should he ever need anything at all, she will not hesitate for a moment. He waves off her formality and simply invites her to drink. The two settle in to share their tea in the open air. Bai Ran lifts her cup and sips, her cheeks coloring softly. Shen Shi reflects that peacefully sharing tea with the lovely Bai Ran is quite the pleasure, and that this feeling is not bad at all. Then he stiffens with a sharp, inward groan. He realizes in alarm that his realm suppression has slipped once more, and he very nearly broke free into the god stage, telling himself he must quickly disperse the surging Tao rhythm building inside him. Bai Ran lowers her cup and remarks that this tea is somehow quite extraordinary. She blinks in wonder, asking just what it could be. Closing her eyes, she lets the strange, profound energy wash gently through her. Watching, Shen Shi muses that the heavenly way is far too generous, scattering insights and epiphanies for free, and wonders whether the surplus he releases is simply being absorbed by those around him, half-joking that he could practically hire himself out as a stand-in cultivation tutor. He notes that these waves of Tao rhythm come around only once a month, and then some comparing their cycle wryly to a woman's monthly visitor, and realizes that if he releases them on purpose, he could use them to help his own disciples advance. Lost in the feeling, Bai Ran gives a soft, contented hum. Her eyes fly open in astonishment as she gasps that she has just broken through, right here at the table. Shen Shi congratulates her, saying that thanks to her thorough preparation and this sudden moment of enlightenment, she has leapt clean past the middle stage of the Golden Core realm into the late stage, so that from now on she must be addressed as Master Bai Ran. Bai Ran turns back with a warm smile and offers her heartfelt thanks to Master Shen Shi. Waving it off, he asks what there is to thank him for, since the breakthrough was her own hard work and well-earned. Privately unable to confess that it was really the Tao rhythm leaking from his slip suppression that did it. Cheeks pink, Bai Ran softly says his name. Shyly she asks whether she might come to visit more often from now on, since his tea is simply too delicious. He tells her that if she wishes to come, she will be welcome anytime, and he watches quietly as she takes her leave across the courtyard. Then, he calls out for Cheer to come. She bounds in, twin tails swinging, grumbling that her master is such a handful and asking why he has to be so charming. He asks how her cultivation is coming along. Cheer sighs that she has tried every method, but the moment spiritual energy enters her body it scatters away after only 5 cycles without leaving a trace, lamenting that she even wasted the chi-gathering elixir her master gave her. He flicks her nose and asks, "Foolish child, why master would ever weep over a mere chi-gathering elixir?" Then he tells her that he has at last found a way to help her cultivate, and bids her give it a try. Out on the pavilion she settles in, and begins to draw the energy as he sits nearby. Her eyes go wide with surprise at what she feels. She gasps for her master, clutching at his wrists as the power finally takes hold. Beaming, she cries that she feels so much better, while a slightly overwhelmed Shen Shi can only stammer. He adds that he has also set aside a mutated Edelweiss herb for her, to use whenever her cultivation runs into a bottleneck. Then Cheer spots something and notes that one strand of hair on him is not his own color, demanding to know which woman it came from, while he flails helplessly for an answer. Teasingly, she says there is no need to worry, that it is only natural at his age, but warns him sternly that there are shameless women about who must not fool him, and that if he ever chooses one, he had better tell Quer first. Brushing her off, he scolds her to stop talking nonsense and hurry off to cultivate, since the clan trial ahead is very dangerous, and she happily darts away with the Edelweiss herb in hand. He sighs to himself that this living goddess of his is cheeky, two-faced, undisciplined, and utterly out of control. Hefting a small pouch, he reflects that with Cheer's cultivation, finally solved, the story's proper path is restored at last, and decides that once the Deluo gold owed by Yu Wushuang arrives, it will be time to shut himself away and forge magic treasures for his disciples. The scene jumps ahead 3 months to Dengtian Peak, the main summit of the Shangding sect. In the Great Hall, the elders gather, and one reports that scouts from the Diqing sect have lately been spotted near the spiritual veins their sect controls. An elder frets that the Diqing sect has grown bold of late, having already devoured the 2 smaller sects beside them, and wonders whether they now mean to trouble Shangding as well. The patriarch, Ning Cheming, notes that the Diqing sect master Huang Wushan is close to him in cultivation with no recent breakthroughs, judging that they would gain nothing by warring with Shangding, yet insisting they must still prepare. He asks the Great Elder to make the trip to Dongming Pavilion and the Yuhua sect to explain the situation, and seek their support should the time come. The Great Elder agrees to visit Dongming Pavilion, but firmly begs off the Yuhua sect, saying that at his age his remaining years are too few to risk such a trip. He recalls how 10 years past an envoy sent to the Yuhua sect was somehow detained there for ages and returned gaunt and badly weakened in cultivation, and the patriarch concedes the point. Another elder argues that whoever goes to the Yuhua sect must be formidable to show Shangding's sincerity, and suggests that Bai Ran, now at the late Golden Core stage, would be suitable. The patriarch hesitates, noting that Bai Ran has only just broken through, so sending her there all alone troubles him. Then an elder proposes that Master Shen Shi escort her, certain that an expert at the perfected Golden Core stage would command the Yuhua sect's respect. The patriarch eyes him and thinks to himself that this one has clearly been lying in wait to stir up trouble. A sudden surge of power ripples out and startles the elders, and the patriarch remarks that Master Shen Shi is still sealed away in seclusion. The hall erupts as the elders sense a treasure, aura blazing from the direction of Erbai Peak, first crying that an immortal treasure has appeared, then realizing, in relief, that it is no immortal treasure, but merely a very high-grade profound treasure, carrying a single thread of Tao rhythm. One elder is left completely speechless. Meanwhile, Shen Shi strides along, scolding himself for being careless, and failing to suppress his power, fretting that he very nearly forged a true immortal treasure, which would have brought him no end of trouble. His disciples and Cheer line up together to greet their master warmly. He asks them how their cultivation stands at this point. The eldest, Dong Yerweli, reports that the junior sisters have all been diligent, and that Cheer and Sheener in particular have advanced swiftly, both already reaching the 5th level of the Qi refining realm. Impressed, he praises that reaching the 5th level already makes Cheer a respectable intermediate cultivator. Now, he lays a gentle hand upon his little junior disciple. Dong Yerli cautions Cheer that since Master has only just emerged from seclusion, his spiritual energy is unstable, so she should not stand too close. Cheer waves it off, explaining that her fixed 5 elements have the special knack of dissolving the impact of spiritual energy, so it poses no danger to her at all. The two of them butt heads with crackling sparks, while Shen Shi looks on from behind. He remarks that Yueli has done well too, standing now at the 2nd level of the foundation building realm. Han Xianair says it was the technique master taught that carried her through her breakthrough, and he muses with surprise that she has already grasped the softness hidden within it. She confirms that she has not only mastered it but understood its deeper meaning, and is at last able to reshape it around the traits of her own spiritual power into a stronger, more fitting technique of her own. Brushing the praise aside, he insists the method was only meant to polish a little goodwill with no hidden depth, and tells her not to talk nonsense, then adds that forging her own technique is splendidly done, and asks her to give him a demonstration. Hanxianer agrees to demonstrate, but asks to borrow her junior sister for it, since the little one is so skilled at dissolving the impact of spiritual energy. Facing off, Cheer asks her senior sister to go a little easy on her, and Hanxiner assures her that this is only a demonstration after all. Watching the two of them, Shen Shi sighs flatly to himself that for something so plainly a cultivation novel, his life keeps sounding an awful lot like a palace court drama. Cheer calls out for her senior sister to please go easy on her, and the senior sister coolly answers, of course. Watching from the side, Shen Shi falls into a thoughtful silence. Then, a bright idea suddenly strikes him. He tells Cheer that Master forged an immortal sword just for her, and bids her test whether it suits her or not. Stars in her eyes, Cheer squeals her thanks for an immortal sword. A moment later, she frowns, remarking that this immortal weapon is rather strange. Hefting the broad, blunt blade, she asks whether it is not just a wood chipper. Shen Shi grins and gives a thumbs up, telling her to have faith in her master's craft. Wreathed in flame, Cheer lifts the sword and marvels that a strong Tao rhythm is flowing into her from it, confirming it truly is a high-grade weapon. Thrilled, she cries out, "Yes, ready for the bout." Suddenly, a startled shout rings out among the watching disciples. Shen Shi turns and asks Yuling, "What is wrong?" The little Yuling reports in a panic that senior sister and junior sister are fighting. He thanks her, then gently draws her aside, warning that it is dangerous to stand here. The eldest disciple strides out, and the moment comes to see the fruit of their training. Dong Yuli plants herself and conjures jagged crystals of ice into the air. Cheer darts in, her blade flashing. Spiritual power flares around Cheer. In a brilliant surge, chains of glittering ice erupt and coil through the air around her. The red-haired Xuanyu gasps that solidifying spiritual power is a feat possible only at the foundation-building realm. Wondering how the junior sister managed it, Dong Yuli muses aloud whether it is the doing of that strange wood chipper. A dome of solid ice closes in around Cheer, with a sharp crack, but Cheer bursts straight up out of it, shattering the prison. Shen Shi notes inwardly that with the immortal weapon she broke an ice prison that even a foundation-building cultivator would hesitate to escape. Yet she is still green and untested. Dong Yuli calls out bind, and a swirling vortex of ice snares the airborne Cheer and her sword. Shen Shi observes that this spell carries many variations and has reached the level of an upper-grade spirit spell, adding that if she pushes further, it will become a supreme-grade self-created spirit spell, and that such talent and effort are downright frightening. He recalls that in the original story, Dong Yuli never had such deep insight nor cultivated with any drive, and wonders why she has suddenly become so motivated a genius when lazing about had always suited her just fine. Dong Yuli softly murmurs the word, "Master." Privately, she resolves that only by growing stronger and stronger can she draw ever closer to him, certain that once she surpasses Master, he will have no way left to refuse her. Just then, a voice warns the senior sister that she has let herself get distracted. Cheer whirls into a spinning strike, unleashing her signature spirit chopping wheel, and a stunned Shen Shi marvels that this skill should only be grasped after the Golden Core stage. Wondering how she comprehended it at merely the 5th level of Qi refining, he reasons that with its rotation of the 5 elements of spiritual power, even Dong Yuli's mutated root, which never transcended the 5 elements, will see all its spiritual power torn apart in an instant beneath the wheel. Cheer spins forward and cries for her senior sister to take this. Dong Yuli admits the junior sister's strength far exceeds her expectations, but warns that she will still lose, for her senior sister's technique is not yet finished. A towering blade of ice takes shape behind Cheer, with a series of sharp cracks. With a sly look, Dong Yuli reaches out her hand. Kneeling in defeat, Cheer concedes the loss to her senior sister. Dong Yuli pats her head and tells her gently not to catch a cold. Shen Shi explains that Yureli's ice control has reached the level of a supreme-grade spirit spell, which he dubs the ice-crushing formation, then turns his thoughts to Cheer's new technique. Cheer explains that it springs from the 5 elements of reincarnation, whose 5 elemental energies hold a powerful dissipating force, and announces she will call it the Spirit Chopping Wheel. Shen Shi then calls everyone over, saying he has prepared a weapon for each of them, and that with only 2 months left before the sect training begins, they should use the time to grow familiar with their treasures. He hands the red-haired Xuanyu a great shield, explaining that since she dreads pain, he has prepared a treasure built for defense, and she thanks him warmly. Then little Yuling tugs at him, calling out eagerly for Master. She holds up a dainty heart-tipped wand and asks whether this little stick is for bashing and striking. Caught off guard, he coughs and explains that no, it is a magic wand into which she pours spiritual power to release spells. Yuling tilts her head, asking whether a wand, a stick for patting hair, is not still just a weapon for hitting things. With a weary smile, he tells her that is fine if it makes her happy, while another disciple softly calls for Master. Dong Yureli and Han Xianer step up together and ask about their own 2 treasures. Shen Shi gives a cheerful thumbs up and tells them that theirs are meant to be worn. Blushing, Dong Yureli asks whether Master would like her to put it on for him to see. Fighting back a sudden nosebleed, he coughs and answers that of course he does, urging her to hurry and wear it so she can grow accustomed to it as soon as possible. Holding up a long black band, Han Xianer asks her master just what this black-colored thing is. He explains that he crafted it from the skin of the Misty Snake, an all-in-one piece of magic equipment for both offense and defense, a pair of silk high stockings. Marveling that something all-in-one must be so strong, She then asks how on earth she is meant to wear it. He coaches her to slide it on from the opening, drawing it up over the foot and along the leg. Brightening, Han Xianer says that so this is how it is done, and that she understands now. She pulls the dark stockings snugly up over her legs. Then she perches on a tree stump, the new treasure fitted neatly from toe to thigh. Shen Shi privately admires how long her legs are and how perfectly the stockings suit her, congratulating himself as simply a genius. Cheeks coloring, Dong Yueli hesitates over her own gift and murmurs that this one is rather much. The red-haired Xuanyu asks the senior sister whether she truly means to wear it like that. Clutching the pleated skirt, Dong Yueli answers of course, since this is the very magic equipment Master designed for her. Shen Shi looks on with a puzzled blink, unsure what to make of it. Dong Yueli strikes a pose in the schoolgirl-style outfit and asks her master whether Yueli looks good. Caught off guard, he stammers that yes, she does. Cheer pipes up that Master's magic equipment is not merely for looks, and offers to help test the senior sister's defenses for her. He cuts in quickly, telling Cheer to stop that at once, and bidding them all go back and grow familiar with their treasures, since he must head to the main peak. He descends the long mountain stair toward the great hall amid drifting cloud and pale butterflies. Arriving at the summit, he wonders to himself just what the patriarch wants of him. An elder reports that the Daiqing sect has lately been prowling near the spiritual veins of the Shangding immortal sect. The patriarch adds that after deliberation they judge it necessary to warn their allied sect, so that all may respond in time should trouble come. Shen Shi answers simply, "Oh," and waits to hear the rest. They explain that they wish to send Master Shen Shi as their envoy to their friendly neighboring sect, to forge a united front together. He demurs, suggesting that for such a task the three elders would surely suit far better than he. Inwardly, he realizes the tale has reached the great tribulation that shudders the Shangding sect, recalling that in the original plot the Great Elder and the Second Elder, sent to the Yuhua sect and Dongming Pavilion, were both killed, and noting this could be a chance to deal with the protagonists. The Elder continues that the Great Elder will go to Dongming Pavilion in person, while Master Bai Ran travels to the Yuhua sect. Yet they remain uneasy. His eyes go wide as he blurts that Bai Ran is being sent to the Yuhua sect. The patriarch confirms it was decided earlier, and since Bai Ran, though already at the late Golden Core stage, has little time, they hope that Shen Shi, whose Golden Core is perfected, will accompany her. He frets to himself that the script has shifted yet again, the butterfly effect spreading ever wider, until he can no longer be certain he can steer the later chapters of the story. The patriarch reminds him that the Shangding sect stands one for all, and that he too is a member of it. With a gracious smile, Shen Shi agrees that the patriarch is right, and says very well, he will do it. The seated elder gives a startled, "Huh." Another elder gapes in open shock. Off to the side, two disciples whisper that he surely agreed for Bairan's sake, gossiping that since she broke through right after visiting him, the two of them must be cultivating together. One sighs how jealous she is and how she too would love to share cultivation with Master Shen Shi, while another insists it would be her own turn first. In their giddy imaginings, Shen Shi declares that now matters are settled, he will go first. A daydream Bai Ran flushes scarlet, as a voice tells her to come to his room later. She buries her face and cries that she is not prepared, while the onlooking disciples gasp in delight. In truth, Shen Shi only says calmly that it is all fine and he is prepared, thinking privately that it is merely fetching magic equipment for Wei Qin. So what on earth is there to prepare for? He sets off down the path with Bairan walking quietly at his side. Cheer comes bounding out with arms flung wide, crying that Master is back. He pats her head fondly and tells the good girl to go find her senior sister, since Master still has business to attend to. Peeking out from his arm, Cheer guesses that this must be Master Bai Ran and greets her with a cheerful hello big sis. Bai Ran stammers a hello to Xiao Qi, correcting herself to Cheer, admitting she never realized the child was a girl. Cheer asks the big sis whether she has come to Urbai Peak to play with Master. Flustered, Bairan manages a faint no, wondering to herself how to put it, since after all his master means to invite her to spend some time with him. Shen Shi explains that in a few days he and Master Bai Ran will travel to the Yuhua sect with matters to discuss, while Cheer, tucked against him, mouths the words double cultivate. Bairan flushes, and asks whether that is really all it is. He frowns and asks what else she means, and whether Cheer just said something about double anything, as the girl hastily insists it is nothing. Grinning, Cheer teases that Master is free to look for a wife, but surely it is a bit much to carry someone home without a word of warning. He barks at her to quit the nonsense or he will spank her, and Cheer scampers off cackling with laughter. Turning serious, Shen Shi remarks to Master Bai that the Daiqing sect has been behaving far too strangely, and that he personally suspects the matter is not so simple. Bai Ran, still pink in the face, lingers on what Cheer said a moment ago, that it was all about finding a wife. A wife. Bai Ran gazes at the sword he holds out and asks Master Shen Shi what this is. He tells her the blade is named Hanzu, forged from the iceberg bamboo jade she gave him, and though its properties are rather complex, it suits Wei Qin perfectly. He explains the bamboo jade sword specialty, that the more spiritual energy poured into it, the stronger its sword aura grows. Sensing the weapon, Byran marvels that this spiritual energy marks it as an intermediate quality profound grade treasure. He admits Wei Qin will be formidable wielding it, adding that he set a spirit seal on it so that, as long as it is not pushed to its limit, its true quality stays hidden from prying eyes. Overwhelmed, Byran protests that it is far too precious to accept, marveling that he speaks so lightly of a weapon when even their patriarch's finest treasure is only an intermediate profound grade. He says the girl Wei Qin is close to his disciple Cheer, and the treasure can save her life in a pinch, so Byran must take good care of her. Clutching the sword to her chest, Byran thanks Master Shen Shi from the heart. He hums and reminds her that, as he said before, the Diqing sect's recent movements are not as simple as they seem. Byran muses to herself that if the Diqing sect truly is scheming, then since Master Shen Shi treats her so kindly she must find a way to repay him. Yet she frets that he seems to lack for nothing, his cultivation lofty and his treasures abundant. She wonders quietly how he regards her, and whether he thinks well of her at all, while Shen Shi talks strategy. Noting the enemy would never probe them so openly as to be caught, he lays out the plan, that the two of them must not march into the Yuhua sect together but split, one in the open and one in shadow, with Byran walking in plainly, while he hides in the dark, so they keep a hidden card no matter what they face. He asks Byran what she thinks, and she snaps out of her daydream with a startled jolt. Flustered, she stammers, what? A second time. No, she thinks once is quite enough. Shen Shi blinks in utter confusion, asking once what, and how once could possibly be enough. Beaming, Byran declares that she understands and will prepare herself well, leaving him only more baffled. An awkward silence falls, both of them wreathed in floating question marks. As Byran drifts off, still insisting she will prepare well, he calls after her, asking whether she truly grasps the situation, then sighs that he had better explain the whole plan to her one more time. Elsewhere, Cheer sizes things up, thinking that this Master Byran seems pure and virtuous, yet reading between the lines she seems quite the expert, so she had best keep a close eye on this threat. Cheer frets that with Master bound for the Yuhua sect, she feels deeply uneasy. She laments that her own realm is far too low, so if she went along she would only be a burden, and Master surely will not bring her. Her imagination runs wild, dreading that if Master cannot resist the lure of beauties and ends up some other woman's dual cultivation furnace, then what hope would be left for her? Shen Shi materializes behind her and remarks that she is getting bolder, daring even to eavesdrop, and Cheer freezes with a start. She spins sweetly around with a soft cry of Master and reaches out toward him. As she cups his face in her hands, he tells her that while he is away, she must cultivate diligently and grow familiar with her treasure. Cheer chirps a bright yes, Master. Watching her scamper off, Shen Shi reflects on the great catastrophe of the Shangding sect, admitting that he never dwelt much on it while writing the novel, so he can only guess at it now from the outcome. By the original ending, he recalls, when Cheer returned from her travels the sect had already crumbled, the patriarch gravely wounded, and a host of elders dead of fatal injuries, as though a great many people were fated to perish. And amid that chaos, he remembers, it was he who tried to kill the freshly grown Cheer, with the whole disaster beginning from the envoys sent to the Yuhua sect and Dongming Pavilion, though now countless details have already changed. A bright ding rings out from the green jade at his collar. He startles, noting that the channeling jade sword has a message. The chat panel flashes angry little faces, demanding to know whether he has died and why on earth he will not reply. Grinning, he fires back that he is the one about to lose his temper, and that since at least his grandparents and parents are all alive, and well, surely she is the one crossing a line. Then he scrolls back over the whole backlog she sent while he never answered. Good morning, good evening, are you there? Are you there? Why will you not reply? He sprawls back on his bed, cradling the glowing jade panel. As her status reads typing, Yu Wushuang sends yet another why will you not reply, and he explains that he shut himself away to forge weapons for 3 whole months. The messages tumble in all at once. Oh, so that is why. Sorry. She misunderstood him, so please do not be angry, and really he need not reply every time since a simple okay is fine, so long as he still keeps in touch. Deadpan, with a single tear, he marvels at what a chatadic she is and wonders why she is such a desperate people-pleaser. Off in her own sect, Yu Wushuang sighs in relief that the scoundrel is a real man after all and surely will not stay angry, reasoning that she was only a little harsh, so there is no cause for him to sulk. Yet she fidgets and worries that he might truly be cross with her after all. Her attendant suggests that the young miss simply confess to him outright, but Yu Wushuang huffs that the maid knows nothing, since the misunderstanding between them at the start is so vast that she still cannot bear to face him. Meanwhile, Shen Shi grumbles to himself that the very thought of Yu Wushuang fawning over his made-up Qianren persona makes his blood boil. She messages on, guessing he is in a foul mood today and asking whether something is wrong. He answers that there is no trouble, that he simply plans to go searching a hidden realm with some fellow immortals and will be out of contact a while, then privately fumes at her clinging. Yu Wushuang lights up, asking eagerly about this hidden realm and whether it is dangerous. He repeats that immortals are accompanying him, so there is nothing to fret over, while inwardly snapping at her to drop the subject. The panel shows her asking once more whether the hidden realm is dangerous, and him reassuring her that it is not. She adds that he should be careful and tell her at once if any trouble arises, then turns and calls for little Luo. Eyes glinting, Yu Wushuang orders her to map out every hidden realm near the Shangding sect, for she means to find out just which woman is trying to seduce her man. Little Luo asks innocently whether the young miss and her man have not already parted ways. Yu Wushuang bristles that it is nonsense, that they were merely quarreling, and it is only temporary, shaking the giggling maid by the collar. Early the next morning, Shen Shi steps out and greets Master Bai Ran. Admiring her fresh green robes, he says her attire today truly lives up to her name as the Bai Immortal. With a coy smile, Bai Ran asks whether Master Shen Shi is captivated. He answers that of course he is, then urges that they set off, since it is better to arrive early than late. The view sweeps over the Qingzhou region and its vast great cloudy mountains. A map reveals that the heart of these mountains is a perilous place guarded by the transcendent grade Taiyun sect, while along the far-flung borders sects great and small war endlessly and devour one another. It explains that this is why sects like the Yuhua sect, Dongming Pavilion, and the Shangding sect band together in fragile alliances, forming a common front whenever a shared danger threatens them all. Two streaks of light, one green and one teal, go racing together across the open sky. Behind a strange eyepiece, Shen Shi explains that the Diqing sect is a newly risen power wielding a special refining art that lets it nearly mass-produce spirit-grade treasures, so that armed with one few cultivators can stand against its people in raw strength. Bairan asks whether mass-producing spirit treasures is truly so impressive, and whether such a technique would not draw the eyes of even greater powers. He answers that of course it would, since this is his own insider knowledge, and asks did she really think everyone knew of it, while she wonders aloud whether the thing on his face is some special treasure too. Bairan then asks just how Master Shen Shi comes to know all this. He turns his face away and tells her flatly not to ask. Chastened, Bairan murmurs a small apology. He continues that mass-producing spirit treasures devours enormous resources, which the great sects will not tolerate and the small sects cannot afford. The very root of the problem, so the Diqing sect can only expand this fast by feeding on war. Therefore, he reasons, they cannot afford to offend too many foes at once, which means the two of them stand a high chance of meeting obstacles on the road, for the Diqing sect will not lightly let them reach the Yuhua sect. Bairan smiles to herself that Master Shen Shi hides so very much that he has fooled the whole world. She reflects that his temper, his unpredictability, his quickness to anger are all merely a mask. He muses, as if to himself, that the true Master Shen Shi is so quiet and wise that it unnerves people. Cheeks coloring, Bairan thinks that he also makes those near him feel completely safe. He tells her to leave everything to him, and that her only task is to make a loud show of it and head straight for the Yuhua sect. A single green sword streak slices across the clouds. More streaks, green and gold, come knifing in to cut the travelers off. Bairan notes that, just as expected, an ambush awaits, 3 foes at the middle golden core stage. Speeding on, she reassures herself that her jade bamboo art excels at extending spiritual power, so they will never catch her. Watching from concealment, Shen Shi observes that Bairan still lacks experience. He reasons that the 3 middle golden core cultivators are deliberately not hurrying, meaning they intend to drain her spiritual energy, while the true obstacle lies ahead, so the right move would be to wheel about and crush the pursuers. Ahead of her, a dense fan of sword streaks converges to block the path. Bairan gasps that one of them stands at the late golden core stage. She throws up her blade as a strike comes screaming in. Steel rings against steel as she barely turns it aside. Ribbons of green spiritual power lash and coil all around her. She plants herself in a fighting stance, holding firm against the assault. Blow after blow hammers down upon her guard. A heavy crack rocks her, and she cries that this one is a peak golden core stage. She flings herself clear of a blindingly fast slash. Steeling herself, Bairan declares that though she is no match, she means to fight to the death. An enemy howls for her to die and dives in with his sword. Wreathed in a golden halo, the foe sneers that she has no chance, striking at her from every side. Bairan answers with her jade bamboo hidden technique, calling out night movement. A great burst of green energy erupts between them. Crying out fine leaves, she conjures a flurry of slicing leaves to shield herself, even as a blow grazes her head. She doubles over with a pained gasp, clutching her side. 2 more enemies close in, and Bairan realizes her thrown bamboo hairpin was blocked by something, and that the peak golden core swordsman took no wound at all, while her own spiritual energy is nearly spent. The foes level their power and unleash another blast straight at her. Sweating, she calculates that she can manage only one more night movement to restore her energy, but it would drop her realm to middle golden core and damage her foundation. Yet she resolves there is no other way. Just then, a dark-robed figure draws his blade with a sharp whistle of steel. Shen Shi sweeps in and raises a glowing green sword, shielding Bai Ran from the descending strike. His sword meets the enemy's golden beam in a thunderous clash. Golden discs of deflected force go spinning away through the air. Raising a single finger, he commands them to stop, and the flying swords are turned aside with a ringing clang. An enemy reels in disbelief that one lone sword could shatter the spiritual power of his own blade. Shen Shi coolly takes the measure of the foe, noting that the man can wield two swords at once. Keeping up his disguise, he tells Bai Ran that he may be no match for these peak golden core swordsmen, and urges her to race ahead to the Yuhua sect and bring back reinforcements. A green sword streak comes shooting down toward the towering gate of the Yuhua sect, where figures wait atop the arch. Bai Ran touches down hard upon the ground. Wounded, she announces that she is Bai Ran, master of Lingju Peak of the Shangding sect, and begs them to spare some immortals to save someone, explaining that they were ambushed by the Diqing sect, and that Master Shen Shi is holding the attackers off to cover her escape. A hand reaches out to steady the swaying Bai Ran. A red-haired beauty of the Yuhua sect comes to stand beside her. The red-haired senior sister orders that Master Bai Ran first be taken away to rest, and the others answer yes. Two disciples in orange lead the bewildered Bai Ran off, question marks hovering over her head. A pink-haired disciple asks the senior sister, called Sister Luo, whether they should go help Master Shen Shi, and Sister Luo answers that they must first ask the sect master. Sister Luo approaches the grand hall and says that she understands. Lounging upon a chair sits a horned, alluring woman who tells her she may stand down. Sister Luo thinks uneasily that the rumors must be true, that their sect master has already been dealing in secret with the Diqing sect. Watching quietly, the red-haired Sister Luo breathes Master Shen Shi's name and hopes that he can escape this disaster. Then, a gray-robed stranger strides in, and she stiffens with a start. She realizes with a jolt that he is one of the Diqing sect's people. The horned sect master greets him warmly, apologizing to Elder Qi for receiving him so far from her hall. Elder Qi reports that he has just killed Shen Shi, then asks about the one who escaped. The sect master answers that they have the escapee locked up in the dungeon. Smiling, Elder Qi tells her to bring the prisoner out, saying he is very interested in this Bai Ran, whose technique is most unusual. The sect master thinks what a cultivation maniac he is, unable even to notice a beauty like her standing before him, fixated instead on a mere golden core cultivator's technique. She tells Elder Qi that his strength is immense, only a step from the nascent soul stage, and that Bai Ran's technique will not help him break through. But she offers that she herself can help him, that if he simply keeps her company, she guarantees he will rise to the nascent soul stage within 7 days. He scoffs that he has no need, calling such demonic arts a heresy that ruins one's foundation, and demands Bai Ran be brought out at once, or the Diqing sect will not be blamed for the trouble that follows. Affronted, the sect master snaps the single word, "You." Then she commands that the prisoner be brought, and a disciple answers yes. Bai Ran is marched out between two disciples in orange. Spotting the gray-robed elder, Bai Ran demands to know what became of Master Shen Shi. Taking her hands, he says he killed the man, then offers to spare her life if she will only share her fine technique. Bai Ran spits that he can dream on, that she would rather die than breathe a single word of it. He smirks that the choice is not hers to make. He announces that he is taking her, and tells the sect master to carry on as planned. The sect master quietly orders a disciple to follow him, and the disciple obeys with a yes. Sect master trailing after them, Sister Luo wonders where he means to take Master Bai Ran. She frets over whether Master Shen Shi is truly dead. Then she steels herself, resolving that she must at least find a chance to save Master Bai Ran. Deep in the forest, the elder presses Bai Ran to be good and hand the technique over, warning that he is not one to go easy on women, and she fires back, "Dream on." He muses that she is still tough, and gloats that soon this whole immortal realm will belong to the Diqing sect. First the Shangding sect, then the Yuhua sect, then Dongming Pavilion, while privately he scorns how naive these fools are to believe he would ever leave them a place. Kneeling, Bai Ran cries that he is a monster, and that his Diqing sect will perish for all its wicked deeds. Crouching with a laugh, he says Master Bai Ran is as gentle and pure as the rumors claim, so elegant even when cursing, and admits that he has grown a little interested in her himself. Hidden among the leaves, a pair of eyes goes wide at the thought that the Diqing sect harbors such schemes, vowing to report it to the sect master at once. A streak of light shoots away through the trees. The elder remarks that it seems the watcher has gone off to report, leaving Bai Ran baffled. Then his disguise melts away, and the true face of Shen Shi appears as he softly addresses Master Bai. A red-haired figure suddenly drops from above with a blade, shrieking at the pervert to let go of Master Bai, while Shen Shi tells Bai Ran that she overspent herself and he will heal her wounds now. Steel clashes as Sister Luo's strike meets him. Shen Shi's eyes widen, and he asks whether it is her. The red-haired Sister Luo gasps his name. Shen. He thinks that he never expected more than one spy was sent, and that since even he failed to notice her, he cannot let her live. He catches the spent Bai Ran in his arms, and she cries out his name. Weeping with joy, Bai Ran sobs that he is not dead, that this is wonderful. Wiping a tear, Sister Luo smiles, that so he did not die after all. He offers an apology, explaining that though he plainly meant to save Bai Ran and never colluded with the Diching sect, he still cannot allow her to leave. Sister Luo blinks and asks just what is going on here. He explains that he spoke aloud on purpose for the one tailing him to overhear, certain that once Guning learns of it, she will at once slay every Diching cultivator hidden within the Yuhua sect and join forces once more with the Shangding sect. Knowing Ji Yuning's decisiveness, he reckons it will be settled in 2 hours at most. So for that, while he must trouble the two of them to stay and keep him company here. With a coy smile and a hand to her chin, Sister Luo says Master Shen Shi must be joking, for Qing does not feel the least bit troubled. Pink-haired Bai Ran sits stiffly, a hand pressed to her chest, lost in a flustered silence. On the other side, the red-haired senior sister fidgets in an equally awkward hush, wedged between the two beauties. Shen Shi can only manage a strained word as he gropes for something to say. He thinks to himself how unbearably awkward this is, that 2 hours is far too long, for though the women on either side of him are lovely, he hardly knows either of them. While the senior sister silently begs Sect Master Ju to hurry up, Bai Ran leans a little closer, her cheeks glowing pink. She startles and breaks into a nervous sweat, while Shen Shi knits his brow in pure bewilderment. Bai Ran looks away with a pout, her face still burning. Shen Shi starts to say something to Master Bai. Under the cover of the silence, Bai Ran's fingers sneak over and timidly poke at his hand, and he freezes with a jolt. Meanwhile, the red-haired senior sister fixes him with a soft, hungry, utterly infatuated stare. At last Shen Shi rises, his robes aglow, and announces that it is about time they went to see Sect Master Ji, with both smitten women trailing close behind. But the grand hall is a sea of blood, every Diching infiltrator cut down and sprawled across the floor. The horned sect master Guning lounges there, idly licking a streak of blood from her fingertips. She remarks that, as for that fellow Kisan, she will deal with him herself. She tells her guests the Lord need not go looking for him, since she has already killed him, and by now his ashes have likely become fertilizer for the flowers. Just as Shen Shi and the two women arrive, her eyes narrow as she breathes the name Shen Shi. He claps lightly and smiles that she guessed his identity at once, praising Master Ju as truly clever. Ji Yuning muses, what a clever man he is, admitting with no small irony that she fell right into his scheme. She demands how he still dares to show his face before her, asking whether he does not fear that she will simply renege on their bargain. Shen Shi calmly notes that the people she just slaughtered were the elite of the Diching sect, and that the Diching sect will hardly forgive her for losing so many of its finest. Ji Yuning counters that compared with facing the Shangding immortal ancestor, she finds the wrath of the Diching ancestor the far more dangerous prospect. Sensing the killing intent rising, the red-haired senior sister panics, wondering whether the three of them together could even hope to handle the sect master. Shen Shi only lets out a low, knowing chuckle. Then a golden halo blazes to life around him as he asks her, simply, "Is that so?" Ji Yuning's eyes go wide with shock. His divine power erupts in an overwhelming technique he calls divine transformation, hurling her backward, tears streaming. Guning reels at the truth that an incarnation of the Tao Lord himself has been hiding in a place like the Shangding immortal sect, one of the very greatest beings in the entire immortal realm. He asks whether she understands now, and adds that he hopes she will keep this secret. Trembling, she stammers that whatever the fellow Taoist asks of her she will do without question, and that she will never breathe a word. Bai Ran and the senior sister gape, baffled as to why Ji Yuning has turned so terrified and so eager to obey him. Shen Shi sweats and frets that she is scared witless, and that this very behavior is as good as announcing to everyone that something is going on. Smoothly, he tells Master Gu she must be joking, that he is in no way fit to command her, and that every decision of the Yuhua sect remains hers alone. Catching on, Guning declares that her sect has always been the truest ally of the Shangding immortal sect, and that she only feigned a pact with the Diching master in order to uncover the Diching sect's true intentions. She and Shen Shi exchange a meaningful look. He says he sees, then praises how very thoughtful Master Ji Yu is, claiming he merely glimpsed her plan and wished to help her put on a convincing show. Hands clasped, Guning gushes that he flatters her, fawning that fellow Taoist Shen Shi is resourceful, bold, careful, handsome, and altogether splendid. Bai Ran and the senior sister stand dumbfounded, wondering when on earth the patriarch ever made such a plan, and what in the world is happening here. Shen Shi concludes that since Sect Master Gu has already laid her plans, the purpose of his visit has been fully achieved. Flustered, Guning fumbles her words and tells the fellow Taoist to please take his time. At the towering Yuhua gate, Shen Shi tells Lu Xianzi that he and Bai Ran will take their leave now, and that she need not see them off. The senior sister muses how, ever since Master Shen Shi spoke with the immortal Miao that day, Qing Qing has talked of nothing else, and she asks wistfully whether the Taoist master truly will not stay even one more day. Eyes closed, Shen Shi recites that a leaf of duckweed returns to the sea, and asks where in life two people do not meet again. Two sword streaks, one green and one blue, go racing away into the sky beyond the gate. Below, the red-haired senior sister gazes after them, and softly repeats the line, that a leaf of duckweed returns to the sea, and where in life do they not meet again? The green and blue streaks soar on together through the drifting clouds. Bai Ran asks whether Master Shen Shi composed that poem himself, and he answers plainly that he did not. Then she presses him, asking just when he got in touch with Guning to conspire and stage such an elaborate play. Shen Shi lets out a sigh, and Bai Ran asks why he is sighing. He says it is nothing, only that he finds there are very few fairies as simple and lovely as Fairy Bai Ran. Bai Ran sputters, protesting that she has no sense of simplicity at all, and that she merely thinks everything has been far too convenient. He teases that if there is no simplicity left, then what remains must surely be just cuteness, leaving her to stammer that she has no idea what he is talking about. Grinning to himself, Shen Shi reflects that he is at it again, that it is never he who cannot handle his disciples, but rather they who are simply too outrageous. Disciples come running across the courtyard, shouting that Master Shen Shi and Master Bai Ran have returned. As the two land, the gathered cultivators crowd close, anxious to know what happened on the road. One disciple blurts out grave news, that the Great Elder's Jade Life tablet has shattered, and he has been declared dead. Bai Ran reflects that without Shen Shi, she too would never have made it back alive, for the sect held only two perfected Golden Core experts second to the Patriarch himself, the Great Elder and Shen Shi. And now with the Great Elder gone, the sect's peak strength has been cut by one. The Patriarch arrives, relieved they returned safely, and asks what dangers they met along the way. Bai Ran reports that they were ambushed by cultivators of the Diqing sect, and that thanks to Master Shen Shi's protection she came home unharmed. The Patriarch grits his teeth that it was the Diqing sect again, fuming that the threat now reaches toward Dongming Pavilion and the Yuhua sect as well. Shen Shi smiles, and assures him that the sect master of the Yuhua sect will fully back their Shangding sect. Startled, the Patriarch asks whether that is what Guning said, explaining that after they left word came the Yuhua sect had sided with the Diqing sect, and it was already too late to send anyone after them. Shen Shi explains that Elder Giyu personally slew the Diqing sect's elites and left every further arrangement to them. Impressed, the Patriarch says Shen Shi must have used some method to lock the Yuhua sect in as their ally, declares the pair deserve the credit, and asks whether there is a treasure or elixir they want, or whether he should choose for them. Bai Ran demurs that most of the work was Master Shen Shi's, and asks that her own reward be given to him instead. Shen Shi says there is nothing he desires, only that he would like access to the Shangding sect's library, since he has lately been in need of some new spells. The Patriarch chuckles that their so-called library is but a small room of 100 books, all basic spirit-grade spells handed to foundation-building disciples, that Shen Shi may already enter freely, and wonders how that even counts as a reward. Then Shen Shi asks, as if in passing, whether the Patriarch's personal disciple Yanyan has returned yet. The Patriarch answers that she has, that luckily she found a relic, seized some fortunes, and condensed her energy. Shen Shi muses to himself that the plot is racing along faster than ever, for the next sect master has already come home. A memory shows Ning Yanyan, the Patriarch's personal disciple, who reached the foundation building stage in only 3 years, and in 6 accomplished what most cultivators need 100 years to do, then set off wandering to condense her core toward the golden stage. Shen Shi recalls that in the original tale Ning Yanyan becomes the next sect master after the Patriarch dies in the Great Calamity, at which point the hero gains a great fortune, a nascent soul white bone puppet hidden in a demon bone relic that would later save him from peril many times over. He steels himself, thinking that for now Cheer is still only a child at the chi refining stage, so he must hurry to help his disciples grow strong enough to seize that opportunity. Turning to strategy, Shen Shi tells the Patriarch that with the Yuhua sect, now their ally, and the Diqing sect joined to Dongming Pavilion, a great war looms, so they should seize the moment to begin military drills and teach the disciples the arts of war. The Patriarch agrees that with the sides now 2 against 2, the disciples' combat foundations are crucial, and asks what Shen Shi proposes. Shen Shi suggests the Deadvine Swamp, rich in snakefish, demon beasts no stronger than the foundation building stage, which the disciples can handle in small groups, while the golden stage beasts there make fitting opponents for the elders. The Patriarch decides that since the clan trials begin in 7 days, he will send several golden stage elders to scout the Deadvine Swamp, then tells the weary pair to go and rest. The next day dawns over Erbai Peak. Shen Shi addresses his gathered disciples, announcing that the clan trials begin in 7 days, that everyone must strive to improve, and that each morning for the coming days he will teach them himself. Dongye Li, Xuanyu, and Han Xianer answer together. Yes, Master. The two youngest chime in as well, that they understand. Master. Inwardly, Shen Shi frets that he has no idea what to teach, since everything in his novel was written off the cuff, all lofty-sounding nonsense that to him was only filler to pad out the chapters. He clears his throat awkwardly, wondering what good thing he could possibly have just said. All at once the disciples jolt upright, struck as though by a sudden revelation. They cry out in rapture that strange knowledge is flooding into them, every one of them tipping into a state of enlightenment. Shen Shi gapes that he has not even begun, and already they are entering the sage state, marveling that his padding is far too strong, while a beaming disciple thanks him for helping her slowly understand everything, and he protests that no, she truly does not. Since they have all leapt straight to absorbing spiritual power and building strength, he decides to help gather a little of the heaven and earth energy around them. A towering pillar of golden light roars up over the mountain. Shen Shi blinks at the result, surrounded by floating question marks. He realizes the spirit-gathering formation was supercharged by the Tao rhythm he captured, and wonders what would happen if he used that same Tao rhythm to enhance the weak spells. So he draws a feeble fireball from the library to test it with simulated fire attribute power. A tiny flame flickers to life in his open palm. He scoffs that it is a weak little thing, though that is only natural, since the fire attribute runs almost directly counter to his own. Then he feeds a thread of Tao rhythm into it to see what happens. The flame swells with a startling whoosh, and even he flinches back, sweating. He mutters that he will add just a little more. The fireball erupts into a blazing miniature sun, leaving him stunned. He cries that the boost is far too much, that such raging firepower, if released, would blow the top clean off his Arbai peak. He frets that, lacking the fire attribute, he cannot simply reabsorb the fireball, so he must find somewhere to hurl it or be stuck holding it forever. The trouble is where to release it, for this is all Shangding sect territory, and no matter where he throws it the result would be a disaster. He decides to use his Mountains Descend art to wrap the blaze up and contain it. Realizing even that is not enough, he pours some Tao profoundness into the technique as well, sealing the inferno inside a sphere of layered power. At last, the raging sun is crushed down into a small, harmless glowing orb cradled in his hand. He concludes that Tao rhythm is like oil and a spell is like fire. The more oil added, the fiercer it burns, so using Tao rhythm to strengthen delicate spells is simply unworkable. Still, he reflects, it is not without use, for if he poured more Tao energy into his stepping wave, not even a Taoist god could withstand it. And since the highest realm this world allows is merely the transformation god stage, he can clearly afford to stay carefree, even suppressed at the golden stage. Shen Shi sets out to see how his disciple's cultivation is coming along. Red-haired Xuanyu's eyes fly wide in shock. She stares at her own hands, stunned by what she feels stirring inside her. Xuanyu gasps that she has broken through to the 7th stage of the refinement realm, weeping that after 2 long years stuck at the 6th stage, she has finally advanced. Shen Shi praises that Xuanyu has done well and grasps his teachings with ease, telling her that her road in cultivation will only grow smoother from here, and she cries out for her master. Kneeling in the breakthrough pit, she thanks her master from the heart. He tells her there is no need to kneel like that, since he has said before that he does not wish to see her bow her back to him. Her cheeks flush as she gazes up at him. Privately, Shen Shi catches himself admiring her graceful figure, and reins the thought in before it can wander any further. Off to the side, the little cat-eared disciple, Cheer, looks on in silence. Cheer tells her master she feels herself on the very edge of a breakthrough, and that she will likely reach the 6th stage of energy refinement by tonight. He pats her head, pleased, explaining that once her realm rises, cultivation becomes a matter of absorbing spiritual energy. He produces a treasure for her to cultivate with, telling her to draw out the fire spirit energy sealed inside the little ball, and she marvels at it. She throws her arms around him, gushing that her master is the very best. Watching, Dongye Li pouts that the master is favoring their junior sister yet again. Shen Shi reflects that he may have been a touch unfair, and wonders what he ought to give the others. Kang Yuling comes flying in with her arms flung wide, crying that she wants one too. She slams straight into him with a yelp. Blinking, Yuling wonders aloud how she managed to leap so high, her heart-tipped wand clamped in her mouth. Holding her up by the collar, Shen Shi tells Yuling she still has much to learn about controlling her spiritual energy. A disciple suddenly points out that the master is bleeding, as a faint nosebleed escapes him. Dongye Li leans in, her face coloring, offering that if the master wishes, Yer Li is more than capable too. Dabbing at his nose, an exasperated Shen Shi begs every one of them to please act like normal people. Then he startles, for someone new has arrived. Bai Ran has come with little Wei Qin, explaining that she heard he would be teaching his disciples and thought to bring the child along to listen. Embarrassed by the chaos, Shen Shi says now may not be the best time and moves to slip away. But Bai Ran insists it is all a misunderstanding and begs him to let Wei Qin stay. An announcement board declares the clan trials nearly upon them, with prizes set, First place wins a high-quality spirit-grade treasure, the top 3 each a low-quality one, the top 5 a spirit-condensing elixir, and the top 10 100 spirit stones apiece. While lower-ranked disciples may trade gathered herbs and inner elixirs for their worth in spirit stones, a disciple puzzles over the strange extra rule that whoever finds the Centennial Snakefish King will be rewarded with a personal lesson from Master Shen Shi himself. From behind a pillar, Ning Yanyan watches with a keen and intent gaze. The patriarch asks her, incredulous, whether she truly means to rank herself down, register as a disciple, and enter the trials. Ning Yanyan answers that she too is a disciple of the sect and naturally wishes to take part. He objects that she has already reached the golden core stage and is no longer a foundation-building disciple. She says only that this matters a great deal to her and asks him not to question it too closely. With a resigned sigh, he relents, agreeing to have the administrative hall add her name. She starts to say something more, calling out to her master, and he asks Yanyan what it is. She hesitates, the words caught in her throat. In the end, she only says it is nothing and takes her leave. Outside, Ning Yanyan lets out a heavy sigh. She thinks that once again she could not bring herself to say it, for the Shangding sect is the patriarch's life's work, so she resolves to find another chance later and first finish the task her master gave her. She frets that the other disciples would be disheartened if she competed for first place, that it would squander the patriarch's hard work, and decides she must find a way to make clear she is not chasing the top spot. Day 7 arrives, and the patriarch announces the trials will run half a month, telling all disciples to follow their masters and receive their spirit plates, which carry an emergency call function so that the moment a plate breaks, the elders are alerted and rush to the spot. In the crowd, disciples point and gasp, wondering aloud who that beautiful immortal could be. One sniffs that it is senior sister Yanyan, a natural beauty and the patriarch's own personal disciple. Others marvel that she is the legendary genius who reached foundation building in just 3 years, and wonder why a golden core cultivator would return to compete in the trials at all. Shen Shi recalls that Ning Yanyan is one of the hero Shaoqi's love interests, a battle-hardened, decisive, straightforward senior sister who can fight her way through every level, and notes that where she first appeared at mid-golden core, she now stands only at early golden core. He remembers she was one engine of the hero's rise, for she invited Shaoqi to the Demon Bone Ruins, and after he saved her life several times she fell for him, and being so gifted, aided him ever after. But he frets that this character has surfaced far too early, and that since Shaoqi is now the girl cheer the romance has tangled, before shrugging that perhaps love between two girls might bloom all the same. A disciple wails that if senior sister Yanyan, already at golden core, is joining the trials, then the rest of them have lost any hope of taking first place. Shen Shi watches her warily, wondering what senior sister Yanyan is up to and why she is heading straight toward his Erbai peak. Ning Yanyan stops before him and offers a respectful greeting to Master Shen Shi. He waves off the formality, noting that they are both golden cores, while privately resolving to make a good impression on this destined female lead and stay firmly on her good side. His disciples size her up, one remarking on the proud beauty's red dress, peerless looks, and shapely figure, asking what this celestial pride is scheming, while Shen Shi inwardly agrees the affairs of Erbai Peak are no outsiders to meddle in. Cheer and Dong Yerweli glare at the newcomer, and Shen Shi puzzles over their fierce resentment toward this celestial pride, fretting that Cheer ought to befriend Ning Yanyan, or the two will never set off together for the Demon Bone Ruins. Shen Shi and Ning Yanyan stand together before the watching crowd of disciples. Disciples point and murmur, "Look, it is senior sister Yanyan and Master Shen Shi." One marvels that, looking closely, this Ning Yanyan is truly a heavenly beauty. Another adds that Master Shen Shi is just as the rumors say, with the face of a handsome exiled immortal, like no one else at all. Cheer, clinging to his side, tells senior sister Yanyan that their master will be taking them to fetch their spirit plates, then bluntly demands to know why she is here and asks her to be honest. Shen Shi pats Cheer's head and chides her not to be rude, saying she ought to learn much from Yanyan and become friends with her. Cheer sulks, fuming that she cannot believe her master called her rude, all because of this celestial pride. She privately stews with jealousy, convinced the senior sister is still helplessly smitten with their master's charm. Ning Yanyan gives a small, startled gasp. She announces to Master Shen Shi that she joined the trials for the sake of that lesson with him, and that until then she will ask him for it once more, while inwardly admitting something just now was far too heart-wrenching. The whole crowd erupts into an uproar, leaving Shen Shi stone-faced. Disciples swoon and gossip that it is all too much, fretting over whether Sister Yanyan is still pure, while others insist they must not judge by looks, since both she and Master Shen Shi are such beautiful people. Dismayed, Ning Yanyan wonders how it came to this, when all she wanted was for everyone to compete for first place so she could finish her master's task. Shen Shi panics inwardly that, handsome as he is, they hardly know each other, and that since she is the hero's love interest and not his, and the villain who steals the hero's girl always dies first, she is now putting all his hard work and his very life in danger. Flustered, Ning Yanyan waves her hands and says that perhaps she was not clear, and that what she means is, she clarifies that she only wishes to hear his teaching and cares for nothing else. Not first place, not the trial, none of it. Shen Shi keeps his deadpan as the disciples gasp that she has only grown more direct. Chira plants herself in front of her master with her arms spread, snapping that the senior sister should not be so smug, for she has not yet earned the right to his teaching, and should not be so full of herself. Ning Yanyan raises a brow and asks whether her junior sister means to take her place. Chira declares she is certain she can find it even faster than the senior, and that she will not be the sort to make a noisy scene and clamor for attention. Shen Shi frets to himself that this is all wrong, wondering why Chira is speaking that way to the very ally who is meant to support her. Deng Yanyan asks whether she is the one making a scene, and Chira fires back that actions speak louder than fine words, asking whether a so-called celestial pride does not grasp even that. Yanyan proposes a wager then, on who finds the centennial snakefish king first. With a sly smile, Chira says that since the senior made the bet, she herself will set the stakes. She points and declares that if Yanyan loses, she must call Chira master and dares her to take the bet. Shen Shi breaks into a nervous sweat at the absurd terms. Two onlooking disciples gape in disbelief. Ning Yanyan answers that she accepts, and Shen Shi gives a startled jolt. Yanyan tells Master Shen Shi she will take her leave now, and Chir calls after her to wait. Chir half apologizes to her master that she truly could not let it slide, and made a bet with someone, begging him not to be angry, and he gently tells her that her senior sister Yanyan is really a good person. Chir bursts into comedic tears, wailing that her master is a big dummy who takes the other side after she has been bullied, and declares she is ignoring him now, leaving Shen Shi blinking in confusion. He insists earnestly that he did no such thing, that he only did not want her to misjudge Ning Yanyan. Then Han Xianer sniffs that this Ning Yanyan is only a little pretty, and that even she cannot understand why their master keeps speaking up for the woman. The other disciples can only exchange awkward, speechless looks. Changing the subject, Shen Shi tells Xuanyu to go collect her spirit plate as well, and to take Yuling and Xianer along with her. The scene shifts to the Deadvine Swamp in the cold northern reaches of Qingzhou, where the deep mountains are riddled with marshes, the largest of them this one, shunned by travelers because of its fierce snakefish, demon beasts. Refinement stage cultivators learn to channel spiritual energy into their feet so they do not sink into the swamp. On dry ground, the same trick can be adapted, and the disciples go racing across the wetland, but the place is a maze of dark bogs that look like mud yet hide deep water beneath. And even a cultivator cannot always avoid them, as one disciple plunges in with a cry. Something vast begins to surge up out of the mire. A huge snakefish rears with bloody fangs. For these bogs are its nests, and though the beasts are not strong, any careless soul who stumbles in is swiftly devoured. Among the Erbai Peak team, Cheer and Dong Yureli vow they must win this time and never let outsiders meddle in their peak's affairs, while agreeing that the dangerous swamp means they must guard one another and stay together. A snakefish lunges and a disciple shouts, a warning that one is just ahead. Dong Yali surges forward, ice blooming beneath her feet as she moves. A coiling snakefish heaves up before them. Cheer swings her broad cleaver and shears clean through the beast. Dong Yali whirls in with a strike of her own. Examining the kill, one of them notes that these refinement stage demon fish almost never carry an inner core, so they will have to press deeper. Xuanyu warns that the foundation building stage snakefish are far too dangerous, and Han Xianer agrees they must be cautious, reminding everyone that the 5 of them are strong only so long as they stay together. Kang Yuling whines that she is hungry already, and a teammate marvels that they have only just begun. Dong Yeli says they have rushed so far ahead of most teams that she will freeze the water for everyone to rest, then reassures Cheer not to fret, since the trials run half a month and this will be a long fight. Far above, an enemy cultivator descending on a beam of golden light remarks that the Shangding sect's people have just entered the swamp. Another, leading a band of cultivators down from the sky, says they should go and kill them while they are still unaware. Kang Yuling slumps on a rock, whining that she is so very hungry. Then her nose twitches, and she cries that something smells wonderful. She spots a faint blue glow among the grass in the distance. Scurrying over, she announces that there is a spirit grass growing right here. Xuanyu scolds her that she cannot eat the spirit grass, since the herbs count as trial points, but the little glutton has already stuffed it into her mouth, munching happily away. She goes darting off after another scent, and the others call for the little senior sister to wait and for Yuling not to run off. Yuling crouches and chirps that here is yet another spirit grass. Xuanyu thinks uneasily that this is awfully lucky, while a teammate falls silent. Yuling sniffs the air with a curious hum. She declares she can still smell the aroma coming from over there, and a teammate wonders whether there can really be even more. A trail of glowing spirit grasses leads away across the ridge. Elsewhere, Shen Shi twirls a spirit grass and congratulates himself on being such a genius for thinking of this method. He reflects that as long as they follow the spirit grass he planted, His disciples will surely find the centennial snakefish he prepared for them. Then he says, "Now let us see how they are doing," and conjures a small token to watch them from afar. Yuling proudly hoists up 2 great fistfuls of gathered spirit grass, but Cheer frowns that something is wrong, for these spirit grasses are far too easy to find. Dong Yurli agrees it is a bit strange, noting they have been heading in only one direction, and says it feels like a trap, so they should take another path. She glances back warily at a glowing spirit grass. Yuling protests, begging them not to be so cautious and to just let her lead, insisting that without the centennial snakefish they will never find what lies ahead. Nearby, Cheer suddenly stiffens with a start. She lifts her head, murmuring that she catches the scent of battle. A high-heeled boot kicks off the ground at a sprint. A roaring dragon of golden flame bursts forth as Ning Yanyan fights, ringed by enemy cultivators and their flying swords. Gritting her teeth, Yanyan lashes out with a whip of fire. An enemy grunts as her strike drives him back. Their blades grind together in a shower of sparks. She cuts one foe away, even as another masked attacker closes in. The enemy leader smirks coldly. Yanyan calls up her flaming golden dragon once more, her eyes fierce. The blazing dragon rears with a deafening roar. Its coils sweep around her, and she realizes her path of retreat is blocked. She steadies her sword and resolves that it has come to this. She unleashes a powerful slash that scatters her attackers. Her blade clashes against an enemy's with a defiant snort. The fire dragon whips out and catches a foe. A great blast erupts, hurling the enemies back. One brown-haired attacker clicks his tongue as another rushes in to join him. From the cover of a tree, Shen Shi watches it all unfold. He observes that the strength of an early golden core cultivator is indeed enough to withstand a siege by 3 mid-golden core attackers. He notes how cleverly she knocks aside one foe's flying sword to open an escape route, then rides the impact of another's blade to slip past the third's deadliest strike. Shen Shi concedes that this Ning Yanyan truly deserves to be called a genius. Scrying the wider battlefield, he sees the foundation-building disciples under attack, and the nearby elders surrounded as well. His face turns grave. He marks that a golden stage cultivator is even now bearing down on Yurwali's group. A dark realization settles over him. In the thick of the fight, Ning Yanyan grasps the bitter truth that there is a traitor among the elders. Unable to shake her pursuers, she thinks she must hurry and find some way to turn the tide. With a gasp, she breaks away in a sudden dash. She and an enemy go leaping after one another toward the water, plunging under. She realizes too late that an ambush was lying in wait beneath the surface as well. An enemy lurking in the depths strikes at her through the water. Stunned, she wonders what power this is that the full strength she poured into her sword was brushed aside so effortlessly. A vast hand reaches for her through the murk, and she wonders whether this is already the end, but the hand closes gently around her and draws her into shelter. Eyes wide and cheeks flushing, she gasps out a single word. "You." Shen Shi holds her close beneath the water and warns her not to move, since his evasion technique shields only the small space around his body, and she breathes his name, Master Shen Shi. Holding Ning Yanyan close beneath the water, Shen Shi tells her that first he will get her out of here. He seals her inside a shimmering sphere of protection and carries her up through the depths. He asks whether she has some special way to contact the Patriarch. She answers that she cannot truly speak with him, but she can send simple messages. He tells her that is fine and to let the Patriarch know she is safe, and she murmurs that she will. A small golden token glows to life between her fingers. She steals a glance at him, her cheeks still warm, but his face has gone quiet and grave. Catching his look, she asks him what is wrong. She says there is something she does not understand, and he tells her to speak. She asks why she should be the one to tell the Patriarch that she is safe. He explains that, if his guess is right, the true aim of this attack is to lure out the sect master. She asks what makes him so certain. He notes that though he only just arrived, by now she should have sent a distress signal, yet not a single other gold stage elder came to her aid. She admits that this is true. That means the nearby gold stage elders are being deliberately held back. He says, for so much effort to surround and slay a disciple who has not yet come into her strength makes little sense on its own. She realizes that by killing her, they would draw the Patriarch into an ambush, and he agrees it is a real possibility. She thanks him once more for saving her and asks where they are headed now. He answers that the other disciples here have been attacked as well, and that he means to go take a look. Long hair streams in the wind as the scene shifts to the disciples. Dong Yuli stiffens, sensing something. She calls out that someone is coming and orders everyone to be on guard. A sneering enemy cultivator scoffs that it is only a pack of refinement stage dolls. He hurls a blazing strike down at them, roaring at them to die. He sends a massive crushing blow. Someone springs into motion. Red-haired Xuanyu plants herself in front with her great shield, shouting for her seniors and juniors to fall back while she blocks it. The dark blast slams into her shield as she braces against it. The enemy sneers that she is far too full of herself, that a mere refinement stage cultivator should not dare to block his attack. A thunderous impact shakes the air. Xuanyu grits her teeth and holds firm. Her shield stands unbroken against the onslaught. The blow bursts apart in a great explosion. Watching it unfold, Yanyan marvels that a refinement stage cultivator was truly able to block a gold stage attack. Shen Shi explains that a body with 4 spirit roots is poorly suited to the heavenly martial arts, but that through those very roots one can dissipate spiritual power along the cycle of the 5 elements. So long as the attack is spiritual, Xuanyu can use her 5-element cycle to wear it down layer by layer, and she has found a fighting style that fits her perfectly. Elsewhere, another enemy laughs that he did not know the girls carried such fine treasures and tells them to be good, hand everything over, and serve him, promising not to kill them. Cheer lifts her cleaver and warns him to wait until her master arrives, for then he will have no chance to flee, adding that if he is smart, he might still save his own life. The enemy laughs that she must be joking, asking just who she thinks her master is, and leers that he only wants to see what lovely flowers the girls will grow into. He smirks with cold contempt. All at once, his smirk freezes. Chains of golden light come snaking through the air. They lock around him, and he cries out in alarm at the crushing pressure, demanding to know who has suppressed him. He panics that this is bad, that he cannot move his body at all. The 3 girls' eyes sharpen as one, seeing their opening. Dong Li thrusts out a hand and strikes. White-haired Han Xianer comes hurtling down in a flying kick while Dong Li holds the high ground. Her strike tears through the air in a streak of blue light. The blow whirls in against the pinned enemy through the gloom. Strike and ice crash together in a burst of shattering force. The enemy snarls that these brats cannot be underestimated, resolving to sacrifice his spirit treasure robe to weather this wave of attacks, and vowing that once their borrowed power fades, he will kill them all. Chair calls out her cutting spirit wheel and sends it spinning at him. The enemy blanches, realizing that even if he dodges this strange technique, he is still in mortal danger. The attack tears into him in a spray of blood. Howling in fury, he swears he will let none of them go, that he will bind them and torment them until every one of them is crippled. But his words end in a choked grunt, as a final strike pierces clean through him. Cheer stands over him, her weapon dripping, and tells him coldly that she warned him. For now that her master has come, he has no chance left to run. Beneath the water, Shen Shi's strike splits the enemy's attack apart. His hand closes around a gleaming blue immortal sword. He rises with the blade raised high, Ning Yanyan still held against his side. Yanyan marvels to herself that she knew Master Shen Shi was a famous swordsman, but never dreamed he could wield the Emperor's sword flow, and that this immortal blade is plainly far stronger than his green bamboo sword. Wondering just how many secrets he is still keeping, a figure lands lightly on the surface of the water. His disciples come racing across the water, crying out for their master. He smiles and asks whether they are all unharmed. Dong Li answers that they are fine. One of them eyes the pair suspiciously, asking why senior sister Yanyan has turned up together with their master, and noting that the 2 of them look in quite a state. Yanyan clears her throat, her cheeks coloring. She stammers that it is not as though their master was being rude, only that he simply appeared without a word and never even asked her opinion, and Shen Shi blanches at how that sounds. The disciples freeze, jaws dropping at how the words come across. One blurts out in shock whether their master truly laid hands on the senior sister. A disciple bristles dangerously with her weapon in hand, and Shen Shi hastily begs her to wait. He explains that it was urgent, so he pulled her up from below, and there was simply no other way than to break straight through the ice. Yanyan sighs in relief, that was all it was. But then she recalls aloud that while they were underwater, he had been in no hurry at all, even murmuring how good it felt, and a disciple chokes on a strangled cry. Sweating, Shen Shi asks the girl whether she picked up such language from watching too many plays. He falls utterly speechless as a disciple looms over him, like a little horned demon, heart wand in hand. Yanyan hurries to explain that what she truly meant was that, watching him fight the gold stage cultivator, she felt how much he had improved, and that it was a wonderful thing to behold. Kang Yuling pipes up brightly that she too has improved, insisting she really has, even if her senior sister never believed her. A senior sister teases that she did nothing at all, just now. Another reassures her with a pat that she did improve, and that their master saw it all. Yanyan thinks to herself that Master Shen Shi is remarkably good at coaxing children. Cheer turns serious and asks her master why an ambush came so suddenly, and whether it could have been planned in advance. He tells her that things are not so simple, but that there is no need to worry since he is here. Privately, he frets that he cannot tell how far the main storyline has drifted, and wonders how he will ever guide this whole group back onto the route he arranged. Then he spots something and remarks that it must be the centennial snakefish, puzzling over how it came to be lying there dead, while Yanyan startles. He observes that they must have circled right back to this very spot, and decides that this is just as well. Yanyan laughs and crows that she was the first to notice it, so she wins. But Cheer springs forward in a flash, startling everyone. She snatches it up and declares that since their bet was over who catches the centennial snakefish first, it is plainly she who has won. Yanyan sputters that she is utterly shameless. Cheer beams that the senior sister has lost their wager. Shen Shi rubs his brow and sighs that the two of them are squabbling like little schoolchildren. Deep below, a great slitted eye slowly opens in the dark. Cheer blinks at a low rumble, rising beneath her feet. A towering surge of water bursts up through the ice and hurls her into the air. The others cry out in alarm for their junior sister. Shen Shi tells them not to panic, for Cheer can protect herself. With a calm gesture, he weaves a ring of flowing water energy. Yanyan frets that the centennial snakefish is no weak beast and is strongest in the water, and asks whether he is truly certain Cheer will be safe. He answers that there is no problem and that everything is under his control, thinking to himself that through this very accident, the tale can finally slip back onto its main course. He muses that this centennial snakefish can carry Xiao Cheer all the way to the nascent cave, though opening that cave will still take a little time. Shen Shi and his disciples stand waiting at the edge of a still blue pool. Yanyan reflects that he moved her in and out of the water so effortlessly, and that his water escape art could surely save Cheer with ease, so she wonders whether he has some other plan in mind. Shen Shi's eyes sharpen as he murmurs that here it comes. The pool begins to churn and bubble. A roaring pillar of radiant light erupts from the water. Yanyan gasps at the five-colored spirit light, recognizing it as the sign of the immortal cave. A sheet of blue light shatters apart. A huge golden snakefish lunges, and Cheer swings her cleaver to meet it. Gritting her teeth, she calls out her cutting spirit wheel. The whirling blade slams into the beast's head. Its tail lashes around and hurls her back as their blows collide. Battered, she tells herself she cannot die here, not while her master has yet to arrive. The great maw bears down on her, and she swears to herself that her master will surely come to save her. She throws herself at the beast again in a clash of steel and scale. She and the hissing serpent square off through the drifting mist. She remembers the mutated Edelweiss herb her master gave her. Deciding there is no better moment to spend it, she lifts the herb to her lips. Power blazes around her as the rings of her spirit wheel spin to life. She hurls herself at the serpent. Her strike crashes hard against its skull. The beast recoils with a hiss, but the blow rocks her just as hard. She drops to one knee, breathing hard. She realizes bitterly that the gap in strength between them is simply too great. The serpent rears high above her in the mist. As the jaws plunge down, she can only whisper for her master. Then streaks of blue sword light tear through the air. The great serpent is cut and bound fast while Cheer kneels unharmed. Tears welling, she realizes her master had been there the whole time. His boots stride forward across the stone. He observes that this shifting array must be a relic left by an ancient immortal. Studying the glowing array, he remarks that if it was made by an ancient gold stage cultivator, then they are truly in luck. Yanyan asks whether a mere gold stage cultivator would not be quite so valuable. She explains that an ordinary gold stage cultivator would be nothing special, but ancient cultivators are rare, and even one of those would leave behind a mountain of cultivation materials. She adds that ancient cultivators seldom fixated on arrays or forbidden arts, so such a cave holds relatively little danger and is perfect for treasure hunting, and Kang Yuling marvels that is how it works. Privately, Shen Shi recalls that this cave belonged to an ancient nascent soul cultivator, a leader of his age, and that in the story, Cheer was meant to fall gravely wounded and senseless after a fierce battle here. Her spiritual affinity, he thinks, will draw in and absorb the earth spirits the ancient immortal once gathered, arriving just in time for her breakthrough. He muses that this time Cheer can rise straight to the foundation building stage, and the powerful spells she mastered long ago will finally be filled with real strength, so that at last, she can carry him along. A disciple points and asks what it is that has just appeared. Shen Shi explains that it is an earth spirit, and that ancient immortals were said to draw these innate spirit beings out of the spiritual energy of the earth itself. He adds that left to themselves, earth spirits drift toward whichever cultivator shares the closest affinity with their nature. Kang Yuling pieces it together, brightly, that this is why the spirits favor their master, who has the highest affinity of anyone here. To his alarm, an earth spirit nestles right up against his cheek. He grumbles that this is all wrong, since the spirits are supposed to be seeking out Xiao Cheer, not him. Kang Yuling notes shyly that the spirits seem rather taken with their master now. He fumes that this must be the troublesome gift the heavenly Tao stuffed him with, lamenting his luck. All at once, he stiffens. He senses with alarm that Cheer is just ahead and has only now been hurt. He spots her fallen form down the tunnel and cries out that she is there. He dashes to her side in a streak of motion, cradling an earth spirit in his hand. He decides that if the story will not move along on its own, he will move it himself. He sends the spirit into the unconscious Cheer with a word of command. He notes with satisfaction that the spirit's energy is already beginning to merge with the Edelweiss within her. As the others gather near, one of the disciples asks how badly Cheer is hurt. Holding her gently, Shen Shi answers that she will be fine and that he will watch over her, for this is her great chance, and he tells the others that the ancient cave still holds many opportunities, so they may all go explore, but only within his sight. He reflects that, in the storyline he wrote, once Xiao Qier gained the Earth Spirit, the cave simply cast her back out, which means, he thinks uneasily, that there is something here he never wrote, something unknown, and the unknown spells danger. Just as the disciples cry out for him to look behind him, he startles that something is behind him. Baffled that he sensed no danger at all, he turns to find a glowing blue figure has risen at his back. A beautiful blue spirit woman gazes at him and murmurs that she wants something. Shen Shi flushes and sputters, utterly at a loss for what the spirit means to do.